checking this out, this is going to be a co-stream of the Xbox podcast with Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty about the future of Xbox. If you are watching this as a past broadcast and you're hanging out, you're hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, you want to make sure you are here for those live streams. And we appreciate everybody who's watching. I am going to end the previous stream. It's telling me that I didn't go live. Let me actually make sure that we did go live. The YouTube is acting a little strange. I want to make sure that we're actually live before I bring everybody over. I'm not seeing us showing live just yet. I want to wait. Something is wrong. I don't understand. The front end isn't showing me live, but the back end is showing me live. Yeah, I'm not live for some reason. Hang on. Okay, let's see if this jars it. This is us trying to go live to co-stream the Future of Xbox podcast. I do not know what's going on. It's not letting me go live. Yeah, it says that I'm live on the back end. And we are now live. Okay, there we are. Okay, I'm going to end the member stream and bring everybody over. I don't know what the heck happened. I clicked go live and it said failed to go live. And on the back end, yeah, on the back end, it was like, you're live, but on the front end, I wasn't. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Let's get to the Xbox channel. Let's see if they have done anything yet. We are waiting to see if this thing's going to get scheduled or if it's going to be a premiere. We're not seeing anything yet on their channel. So, guys, make sure and smash the like button. I will put that goal back up. That's where you guys were earlier today, and I'm going to honor that. Every 25, I give 5 back. Get us to those first 100 likes. Kind of an awkward start, but here we go. We're going to watch this thing. If you're watching the past broadcast, you're going to want to skip ahead by about 21 minutes for when the thing that actually starts, because we are waiting. YouTube's been having a lot of problems lately. Yeah, it was just not letting me go live, but we're live, and we had a huge day. We did hit the goal. So Friday night, my wife and I are going to be playing Helldivers 2, and all members can come. Friday night, it'll probably be around 9 o'clock, 9:30 Eastern, a little bit later than usual. We usually start around 8 or 8:30 Eastern. It'll be 9 or 9:30 Eastern. So make sure you set aside that time. It's going to be a blast. And as I said, we are letting all members come, including gifteds. Usually, if it's a stream with my wife, we've been reserving that for paying members only. So if you enjoy the content and the sample that you get this week on Friday night, make sure you consider upgrading and picking up your own membership, and then you can be a part of all of the festivities. And we are waiting to see where they're going to do this. I am currently on their YouTube channel. I'm refreshing, I'm checking videos, I'm checking live, I'm checking their home, and I'm assuming they're just going to stream it on their channel. That's what I'm assuming. So we shall see what they end up deciding to do. Microsoft's official edition of the official podcast will be available in 30 minutes time on YouTube. Does Tom Warren have a link to the actual thing? He just has /hub. What the heck does that mean? I don't know why he has /hub. Yeah, it's going to be dropping on YouTube according to Tom Warren. So we're ready to go. We're on their channel. And we already did our prediction stream. And it was fun. It was fun. It got a little crazy, but it was fun. And I appreciate you guys, your support so much. I still think they're going to give Starfield a stay of execution, but they're really going to drive home the every screen is an Xbox, like their commitment to hardware. They might hint at the handheld. I think Phil's going to talk hardware. I think Sarah's going to talk Xbox being every screen is an Xbox, and I think Matt Booty's going to talk first-party property. It's pre-recorded. I don't know if it's going to be pre-recorded or not. I don't know. Typically, I think, isn't the Xbox podcast live? Let's look. Xbox podcast on their channel. Let's see. Let's see if they upload these or if they stream them. Oh, they upload them. Yeah, it looks like historically the Xbox podcast gets uploaded. Yeah, so it very likely is going to be an upload. Yeah. I think it's probably the right call, honestly. You don't want any technical difficulties, any hiccups, any stutters, any frame drops. You know what I'm saying? There's all those things that can lead to it. So we are, like I said, we're just sitting here waiting on their channel for it to go live, and that is going to be in 18 minutes. We've made our predictions. We've said our piece about what we think's going to happen, and now we wait. And now we wait. Based on what Tom said, I had a feeling. Well, and again, I mean, just a little bit of research on their channel. They typically record it. And that makes sense, right? You get everybody in the studio, and you want to make sure everything's tip-top, right? That mics are working, that if you use B-roll, like all those things. The live environment is actually very tough to do this sort of thing in. You know, when I did main stage E3 in 2019, there's just so many things that can go wrong. The B-roll footage doesn't run right, or, you know, the cameras won't cut, or the lights are acting up. It's just, yeah, it's easier. It's easier to record this sort of thing. Every screen is an Xbox. That's how Xbox wins, no matter what you use to play the game on. It's part of Xbox. Yeah, you can edit out if you say the wrong thing. If someone's like, no, that's off message. We don't want to say that anymore. Or, you know, there's a variety. There is a variety of things they probably want to avoid saying at this point. Because you got to think about it. Like, their messaging and marketing up to this point is probably a lot different going forward. You know, if they do end up saying every screen is an Xbox, and maybe they don't want to focus on Game Pass and day and date anymore. Like, there's a variety of things they might want to you know, kind of dial back, and they don't want to, like, say it by mistake. Phil is a pro. He won't say the wrong thing, right? He doesn't go off message, but, you know, Sarah Bond probably not either. She's pretty professional. She's a veteran in this space at this point. Matt Booty, maybe they're, you know, just want to make sure nobody says the wrong thing. I don't know. Sheriff Bruce Lee with 19 months in a VIP says, if every screen is an Xbox, then what did all those folks who paid $500 for an Xbox Series S or X get? Well, and bingo card, I have Phil mentioning Reading Rainbow. I told that guy, take a look, it's in a book, dude. Anyways, yeah, as far as, you know, if every screen is an Xbox, that's what I was kind of trying to get at this morning. I was like, you know, if every screen is an Xbox, then saying this game is an Xbox exclusive no longer makes sense. The playlist was updated 3 days ago, says Tubbs Gaming, and the latest video is from 13 days, so it looks like it's already there, just not been pushed live yet. So you think they got this thing ready 3 days ago. Okay. That's some grade A show material, because you did it angry, too. Take a look, it's in a book, mother effer. I just am so fed up with the falsehood, dude. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm so done. It just... It leads to so much negativity and attacks. It's like, because you can't be honest, I have to correct it. And when I correct it, I get attacked and called names. Like, it's just so irritating. I can do anything. That's right. Yeah, like, they have a different theme song. They're like, I can say anything. Change a word to say what you want. Misleading rainbow. You know, it's like, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here? Some a-hole can leak the GTA 6 trailer early, but they couldn't do this one. Xbox tax isn't real. Well, I think the desire for the GTA 6 trailer was a little bit higher than this. You know? Game Pass isn't going away and Xbox just become a platform like Steam or Epic. Oh no, you're saying Xbox is going away. Oh, Game Pass is going away. If you have Reading Rainbow stuck in your head, you're out. Yeah, I don't think Game Pass is going to go away. My prediction this morning is I don't think they're going to say much about Game Pass. Like, let's say they're going to start doing day and date less or something. They're not going to tell you that. They're just going to do it, and then you'll just slowly notice over time. Hey, they just announced the game and it didn't say anything about Game Pass. Like, huh? Like, it's kind of like how somebody made the observation that they just stopped saying the word exclusive, and it's like they didn't tell you that they were going to do that. They just kind of did it, right? So it's like, I don't think they're going to say, hypothetically, let's say they're going to do less day and date. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to. They're just going to do it, and you'll just slowly realize, you know. Krebsy says, preach. The amount of misdirection and misinterpretation that has happened in the last few months is crazy. Just want to see how somebody spin or backtrack what's said about today. I think that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the least about this, is that similarly to how people are out here completely misquoting Sony and lying, these outlets are lying to the public. I think you're going to have similar things come out of this. I think you're going to have people misrepresent or spin it in a way, and then anybody who corrects that is going to be an Xbox hater. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, they create an atmosphere where correcting something with a direct quote makes you a pony or an Xbox hater. Like, that's what I'm not looking forward to, because I feel like they're going to be vague enough on certain things that we're going to have to keep running back to the CFO and the CEO, and then we're going to be like, listen, you've got to interpret their comments through the lens of the CEO and the CFO. Does that make sense? Like, I think they're going to be PR smiling, the future is great, vague enough that we're going to still get stuck in this cyclone of, well, but they didn't say, like, all these arguments from silence. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, I think that's going to be the headache-inducing meta that will transpire for the next week or so. That's my prediction. You know? If every screen is an Xbox, why would they need a handheld if they have a ROG or a Stream Deck? Well, because they would want to say this is the best place to play, or, you know, first, better, or best, right? So, you know, I think they see the handheld market as a worthy market to enter into with their own stuff, with their own hardware. Again, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's a market where they could do very well. They didn't win the console fight. I think they could go out there in the handheld fight, and I think Microsoft could hold their own. And that's why I got excited when I heard that. I was like, I think they could kind of crush it with the handheld. And if the Surface team helps, like, it could be a really, really great device. You know, that's more intriguing to me than them trying to do another Series X. It's like that's over. You know, that fight seems over. I think it's time for them to, like Phil said, go out on their own and do something different. Them making a handheld is just them wanting to give the Series S and the X's some company on store shelves. No. I think they could do a very good job with a handheld. I also think that the market would be more receptive to a handheld being high-priced. I think they made their bed with the console. Like, I don't think they can come out with a high-priced console. Do their own thing by copying Nintendo? Well, no. I think they would go high-end performance. I think they would have a handheld that's strong comparatively. Yeah, I think that they see a better future in in not just mobile gaming like on a cell phone or a tablet, but like having an actual thing. I think that's where they, especially with King Mobile, I think there's a good synergy there. They could make really great games, you know, for folks like myself that want to have something like that where I can kind of game on the go or game on the couch or whatever. But then there's also, like, okay, think about it from this perspective, actually. They, in one of the emails, didn't Phil say something to the effect of their path forward is pivotal on getting success in Asia? Well, having a really, really good handheld and Game Pass on that, because he said they saw great growth for PC Game Pass in Asia. So, like, that could be their inroad into the Asian market is a handheld, because they see that being pivotal to their success. So not just mobile gaming through King, because mobile gaming's huge in the Asian market, but also actual gaming on the go. Like, 1 in every 4 people in Japan has a Nintendo Switch. Like, the saturation of Switch in its indigenous market is crazy, but globally it's also crazy. And again, their path to getting an inroad into an Asian market is they're probably standing a better chance of doing that with a handheld than with a console. So I think it's multifaceted. It's like they see an inroad in PC, they see an inroad in handheld, they see an inroad in mobile, and then when it comes to the console market, they're like, well, we'll just put games on PlayStation and Nintendo because those platforms are huge and those people buy lots of games. Like, that's kind of a winning strategy as far as I'm concerned. They can use their property to bolster every one of those efforts. You can bolster your efforts of mobile or handheld in the Asian market because you have all this great property. And then you can bolster your footprint of publishing because you can put it on PlayStation and you can put it on Nintendo, depending on the game. Like a game like Hi-Fi Rush, I still think it could do an amazing job on Nintendo. And they're going to be making all that money off Call of Duty. They're going to be making all that money off of King and King Mobile properties. I don't know. Like I said, I think if Microsoft has a path forward in gaming that's strength, I see it with publishing, mobile, and a handheld, you know. And also, I just think having a stronger presence on Steam, having your own launcher, I just think that's a fool's errand. I just would say just capitalize on Steam's footprint. They're not going to be allowed on Nintendo if they leave PlayStation to go compete with Nintendo. Yo, a 5-bomb coming in from Outsiders, taking us to 159. Guys, we're 6 minutes away. Let me refresh and see if they've got this thing scheduled. No, I think they're just going to publish this thing in 6 minutes. They're just going to publish this thing in 6 minutes. You're saying they wouldn't be allowed on Nintendo. I mean, I don't think what you're saying makes any sense. They already entered into discussions to put Call of Duty on Nintendo with Nintendo. Like, Nintendo is not opposed to putting property on their device if they can make money off of it, you know? Like, if they've done any kind of market research and they've looked at anything with, like, let's say Hi-Fi Rush. Well, I mean, come on. Like, that, why would Nintendo say no to that? Nintendo's not opposed to third-party property. Yo, and a 5-bomb comes in from Cyber Demon. We do have a stretch goal, by the way, guys. If you can get us to 3,250. Right now we're at 3,000 members. We would need about another 250 members on top of what you guys have already done, which is crazy. But people asked for a stretch goal. So the stretch goal is I would have to play non-inverted. Watch then talk. Yes, I will not talk over them. I don't do that when I co-stream. I will not talk over them. I'm currently on the Xbox channel right now waiting for the video to be published. Okay? I'm waiting for the video to be published. I am going to debrief with you guys for, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in there, and then I'm going to jump on a roundtable with Ginger Prime, J-Dub, and Kirk from What's New Video Games. So, stick around for the long haul. We got a lot to talk about, I'm sure. And there's 1,500 people watching. Good night. Make sure you smash that like button. That helps me out. It helps the video out. It helps us reach more people. It's free to hit the like button. And people are gifting members. You might get one. Big O hits 25 months as a member. You don't think games would run terribly on Switch, though? I'm thinking about the Switch 2, Big O. I think we get the Switch 2 this year, which apparently is going to be able to leverage DLSS and get good performance. So I don't think that's going to be a challenge. For companies. Companies are going to want to port their games to the Switch because even Bobby Kotick admitted they underestimated the Switch. It's just a massive footprint, so second Switch could probably be there as well. Yo, Joker Quinn gifts another member and takes us to 165. That's an easy 10-bomb dunker. We'll see, Joker, if you can tempt somebody to slam a 10-bomb home to take us to 175. Every 25 members, I give 5 back to the community. I've already gifted a bunch today because you guys are crazy awesome. If you have a membership, tune in Friday night. You guys unlocked the Friday night stream with Madam this week. We weren't going to do one. Well, we're going to do one now because you unlocked it. Her and I are going to play Helldivers 2 together. If you get another 250 members, because I don't want to do this, that's why it's a stretch goal, I will play non-inverted for about half the night. I hate playing non-inverted. It'll be horrible, but you can make me experience that if you want. Why do we pretend the Game Pass growth in Asia is impressive? Since the Tokyo Game Show, Game Pass is 100 yen, $1. As soon as it goes full price, the gains are gone. Well, I don't necessarily think that that's true, YouTube lurker. I do think they would net some stick, right? The mindset that I have about that would be that if people get a taste for Game Pass, they might end up keeping it. Like, I don't agree with you. I don't think every single person... Yeah, I got Outsiders 5-bomb. Yeah, he was the one that started it. He got us to 159, and then somebody got us to 164, and then 165. Yeah. We were at 154 when it started. You guys have gifted 11. I believe I've done the math correctly. I don't think I messed up. Yo, members in CC here, 101.6 million in the Reforge Arena. That's right. Oh my gosh, we're about to have 2,000 viewers. You guys are absolutely blowing the doors off. As you guys come in, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We do a talk show every morning. We do gameplay as well periodically. And I am a safe for work broadcaster. We welcome discussion. We welcome debate. A lot of people treat me like a podcast throughout the week. They throw me on in the background of their day. I go by Lono. Here at Reforge Gaming, you can support in a variety of ways, and the easiest way to support is to hit subscribe and that like button. Thank you to everybody who has done that. And if you're here on a regular basis, you will get a gifted member. We're super generous. That's how many people have gifted today, roughly. I gift 5 every 25, so that's why the goal keeps going up, because we just keep going. We keep giving to you guys. So that way, when you get a membership, you can try out the content. You can get in our Discord. 1 minute. I'm refreshing. Nope, not yet. Not yet, chat. Not yet. Pre-recorded. This is going to be pre-recorded. Yo, 5-bomb comes in from Terminal Stupidity. Puts us 5 away from 175. Thank you so much. If you guys get a gifted member, make sure and capitalize on that. You get an entire month of extra content and an entire month of access to our Discord. Yo, Blasted Bug, thanks for picking up a brand new member. That takes us to 171. You did select the gifted tier, which is a sample. It gets you in the Discord. It gets you into some of the members-only content, like this Friday night with my wife. If you like what you see, you can bump up to the $6 tier later, and that's a full membership. All right, it's 3 o'clock. I'm refreshing. I don't see anything just yet. Did they put it? I don't think they're going to put it anywhere else. This is where they do the podcast. 2,000 members. Guys, don't forget, high viewership, man. That means we can get a high like count. If you like the show, if you like the channel, make sure and smash that like button. I just keep refreshing their channel over and over again. Over and over again. We've got it. Hang on. Dude, we've got it. It's not, for some reason, it's not showing up on my end. Somebody just sent me a link. Give me a second. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard, now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware, too, and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, When we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
So when you are thinking about the future and this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform. And that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today. And it's all part of our commitment to make Xbox, the Xbox experience, and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I'd love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years. And I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline.
They're not saying anything. I'm so annoyed.
Amazing set of games coming in 2024. But if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. You know, Power World was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview. We have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then we're talking about hardware too. There's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, you know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. I'm a slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play. is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios that we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
The user creator of developer.
Games in this podcast range from E to M.
All right, hang on. I got to get out of that scene. So I I just started laughing because I listen, if you were like a diehard Xbox fan and you were like, this is it, they're going to come out and let us know what's happening, I have to feel like those people are going to be really dissatisfied. I don't feel like they said anything. They completely dodged the question of whether or not games like Starfield and Indiana Jones will move, and they played a very fancy game. They said, there are 4 games coming to start. We have no promises after that. And then they said, of those 4 games, Starfield and Indiana Jones are not one of those 4 games. They're playing a shell game. They did not answer the question. I guarantee you, everybody's going to be like, see, you were wrong. Starfield's not coming. It's like, that's not what they said. They said, of the 4 games coming that we're starting with, those 4 games, it's not Indiana Jones and Starfield. They're playing a freaking game, bro. If I was a really, really hardcore Xbox fan, I would not at all be satisfied by what they said. As soon as they got off the subject of first-party exclusives, it was nothing but generic PR corpo speak. They didn't say anything. The only thing that got my attention was when Sarah Bond said, putting their eyes on next generation, it's going to be the biggest leap we've seen. I'm like, okay, that sounds to me like you guys are going to invest in another high-end console. I'm very interested in what that looks like. And they did say they're committed. Their titles will be day one on Game Pass. So they did give that assurance. That shocked me. I didn't think they were going to speak to that. They basically said, no, yeah, we're going to continue doing day and date on Game Pass for our first party property. I was kind of shocked by that. And then they said, oh, we're excited to finally say ABK games are coming to Game Pass, and they said Diablo 4, and it's like, I don't think, again, if I'm a hardcore Xbox fan, look at this 911 emergency. What do you got? Oh, I can't click on it. Phil Spencer talking to Tom Warren on The Verge. He says, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. We're focused on these 4 games and learning from the experience. Tom Warren talked about Indiana Jones and Starfield coming to PS5, and he said, can you rule those out? He says, I don't want to create a false expectation on those other platforms, as this is somehow the first 4 to get over the dam, and then the dam's going to open and that everything else is coming. That's not the plan today. I also don't want to mislead customers or the other platforms. We're launching these 4 games, and we're excited about it. We're excited about the announce and everything else, but we'll see what happens for our business. I told you. They are leaving the door open on Starfield. It's like they will not answer the question. Do you want to know why? Because it's on the docket as a possibility. That's why we heard about it. It's being considered. Come on. The rumors were wrong? What do you mean the rumors were wrong, Dark? They just confirmed 4 games coming, and the games that they described... Come on, dude. It's obvious what they're doing. It's Sea of Thieves, it's Pentiment, it's Hi-Fi Rush, and I think the 4th is probably Grounded. Come on. The rumors got it practically right on the nose. I guarantee you those are the 4 games, and they did not and will not speak to Starfield and Indiana Jones. That was a total dodge. If you fall for that dodge, Dark, I'm sorry, Doc. You got to see through what they're doing. You got to see through what they're doing. This was nothing but a bunch of PR nonsense. That was a bunch of PR nonsense. They didn't say anything. You got another one for me, Barrier? Okay, so here's another one. So not every Xbox game is going to suddenly appear on rival consoles, but Microsoft is clearly considering the potential for more in the future. I asked Spencer whether there will be more multi-platform games, especially if these 4 are successful. This is from an interview with him on Tom Warren. Phil Spencer says, yeah, but we haven't seen that yet. We're obviously one of the biggest publishers on PlayStation and Nintendo today when you think about the Activision, Blizzard, and Bethesda lineup of games. So we know what it means to ship games on Steam, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. These are games that originally launched on Xbox. They were Xbox-branded games, and we want to see what happens, because going and doing the development work to bring them to new platforms is real work. We want to make sure that the return makes sense. We want to make sure that the audience that's there has an appetite. Maybe they don't. As I said, phase 1. It's phase 1. They are testing. Right? They are testing. This is phase 1. Phil Spencer just said it. This is phase 1. We're going to test this out. We're going to see how these games do. And they're not closing the door. That's why we heard Gears is being considered. Halo, Starfield, Indiana Jones. They're all being considered. Because I got news for you. If this goes well, they're going to pull the trigger on the bigger titles. Why would you not? They're in the business of making money. It's why that entire podcast was PR fluff. They didn't say anything. She said when you play on Xbox, you know that you're playing where the biggest games in the world are. What does that even mean? What is Xbox now? What is it? And their commitment to console sounds good. Again, I'm really hoping they do a killer handheld. I think they could crush a handheld. Hang on, I'm getting DMs and stuff. Day and date is continuing. To me, that confirms the plan to keep the revenue loss by selling on PlayStation. The full Tom Warren article for later. Thank you. People are sending me the Tom Warren article. Microsoft is teasing a next-gen Xbox that delivers the largest technical leap that you will have seen in the hardware generation. There's also a new unique hardware on the way. Handheld. Yeah, it sounds like they're literally going to put out a handheld and a high-end box. I was wrong about that. I was wrong. I didn't think they were going to do another high-end box. I thought, why bother? The way they deprioritized the Series X, I was like, why would you do another high-end box? You guys don't seem to care about the one that you made. Here's another comment from The Verge. Spencer confirms that Starfield and Indiana Jones are not part of the first 4 games, but he doesn't rule out the possibility that these titles will arrive on PS5 in the future. Oh, I already read this. Yeah. I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. Yeah. They used those 4 games as a way, I guarantee you, okay, I guarantee you, the usual folks, okay, the super pro Xbox guys, they're going to have thumbnails by tomorrow. Starfield's not going to Xbox. And they're going to use that quote. I'm telling you, Phil Spencer is the absolute master of... it's not about what he says, it's about what he doesn't say. And he's sitting here telling Tom Warren, well, I mean, we're going to leave that open. We're not going to say never. But they're going to use the quote from the podcast, dude. They're going to run out here and be like, you know, you lied. You didn't know. You didn't have a source. No, our sources were correct. Starfield's being considered. They're just not going to pull the trigger until they see proof of concept. Can this work? Can we take a game, you know, Hi-Fi, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment? Can we take those games and put them elsewhere and have success? I guarantee you Starfield's been considered, and that's why we heard what we heard. That many sources don't hear that Starfield's potentially coming or being considered. That many sources don't hear it if it's not been a part of the discussion. A 5-spot from Sphere says, they said anything over a year old could come to the other platform. Seems to me they have plans to bring everything everywhere. Right, you just wait for Starfield and Indiana Jones to be a year old and then you bring it over. You didn't read the whole quote? I read the whole quote earlier, homie. I'm not trying to, not read the whole quote. He said, we're focused on these 4 games and learning from the experience. We don't have work going on other franchises, but for anybody to stand up and say something's never going to happen, I think that feels like creating more certainty in a world of gaming where you really want to respond to what customers want and what our players and creators are looking for. What he's saying is they don't currently have anything that's being ported over. Like I said, this is phase 1. This is the testing phase. And if it goes well, if they can see trajectories of growth and success from it, they'll pull the trigger on bigger games. They 100% will. Like I said at the beginning of this, when we came out of the podcast, if I was a hardcore Xbox guy looking for strong answers, homie, I would not walk away from this satisfied. We all know PlayStation games are going day and date. Why? Because people keep misquoting and misrepresenting what Hiroki Totoki said? Do you want to go down that lane with me? I know we'll go down this lane, Big Mole, and then you'll show up on Twitter talking crap about me and how you can't watch me anymore and I'm nothing but a pony. So I don't even know why you're here. Just here to spread your misinformation, I guess. You got a response. Did you? I'm sorry. I was not calling out super chats, guys. It's a little crazy. Havoc with a 5-spot. That was an Ultra Instinct dodge. Certainly answered nothing. P-Dub H-Town with $4 says, this has been ambiguous. This podcast is vague and ambiguous. Zippy Narwhal, thanks for the 2-spot. Samuel Galindo for the 5-spot. Thank you so much. Ant with the VIP 30 months. Thank you. Sphere with the 5-spot. I already read that. Enjoy with 11 months as a member. Not to be a pony, but that was so bad. They dodged everything that needed to be addressed. Well, no, I'll give them credit. I will give them credit. They admitted that a next-gen console's coming with the leap in hardware. That was a question that people had, okay? Let's give them some credit. They answered the question about hardware. They answered the question about day and date on Game Pass. And they answered the question about what the heck is going to the other platforms. What they didn't answer was the giant elephant in the room was Starfield and Indiana Jones. And they very smartly said... that's not one of the 4 games that's coming to start. But again, I'm telling you, man, Phil, that's like genius. That's genius level manipulation. This genius level manipulation. It's what he's done this entire time. I really want you to think about this. Just track with me here. Stop thinking that I'm just some pony grinding an axe. Just for like 2 seconds. Listen to me. When the CFO says we're going to start putting first-party property on the competitors that are no longer competitors, and Phil says we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation or Nintendo, he completely dodges the question. When it comes up again in the beginning of this year, and he talks to the employees at the company, what does he say? He says, we're going to continue making hardware. And then he sits down today, and he says, there are 4 games coming, and we don't know if we're going to do more, no promises, but the 4 games that are coming, it's not Starfield and Indiana Jones. Like, it's not about what he does say. It's about what he doesn't say. Like, you've got to see, that's manipulates, the public narrative on this has been manipulated from moment one. From moment one. Because when he came out and said, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo, everyone said, that's it. No story here. The CFO's talking out of his rear end. And it's like, no, he didn't answer the question. And then when this year starts, and everyone starts talking about, well, Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment and maybe Indiana Jones, and oh, we're hearing Gears of War is being considered in Starfield. And what's he say? We're going to keep making hardware. And what's he say today? He says, yeah, we're bringing 4 games. I'm not going to tell you what the 4 games are. And then he says, and it's not Starfield and Indiana Jones. Oh my gosh, that's just, I actually kind of appreciate the genius of it. I really do. I really appreciate the genius. He's playing the public like a fiddle, dude. Everybody's going to run with that narrative. Just you watch. Just you watch. Every single Xbox podcast is going to run with that. They're like, yes, not Starfield, not Indiana Jones. I think it's a big yet. It's like, yeah, not them yet. Yeah, not yet. We know they're going to do this in phases. They're not going to just immediately move everything. I mean, nobody thought that. Nobody was saying that every game was going to come over right away. It was, I mean, they're considering bringing everything. What the heck's going on? That was why everybody was so confused. It's like every time we turned on Twitter, there was a new game being considered, whether it was Jeff Grubb or whether it was Steven Totillo or whether it was Xbox era. I mean, everybody was throwing out a new game every other week. It was crazy. I don't think, it just, the other thing that I noticed throughout the whole thing, it felt so muddled. I was like, what are they saying? Like, what's the clear answer here? What's the identity of Xbox? What is it? Like, what are you at this point? Like, you're not a console anymore, but you're going to make a console. Right? Like, what is my reason to kind of like be in the ecosystem of Xbox? Especially if they start considering bringing their content to other platforms. Right? If you're going to start bringing your content to other platforms, then it's like, what is your platform? Is your platform the testing ground? Is it the beta? Is it the demo? Like, not that you wouldn't get complete games when they come out. That's not what I'm saying. It just doesn't feel like the messaging just didn't feel clear. It was just all this PR corpo speak about like, oh, we want to have growth and we want to stress day and date and cross play and cross save. And it's like, yeah, we know all that. Those are all just like standard Xbox talking points. Like, that's not anything new. There's another interview. Charlie Intel saying that the first 4 games are Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Wait, have they gotten official answers that that's it? Another lie posted as fact. Oh, they're speculating. Charlie Intel's speculating. Here's another interview where Spencer says, hang on, I'm clicking on a lot of screens. If you're a PlayStation customer, you should not think that there's some plan that this is the beginning of all the games coming to PlayStation or Nintendo. We don't plan that. We don't have that plan today. For now, there is no intention to make the role-playing game Starfield and Indiana Jones from Bethesda available on other consoles, Spencer said, despite speculation to the contrary. We need to learn to see what's going to happen. I don't know if these games are going to be considered games when they hit those other platforms. Wait, I don't know if these games are going to be... Oh, I see what he's saying. I don't know if these games are going to be considered Xbox games when they hit those other platforms, and maybe they don't find an audience for some reason. Right, so he's saying... I said this last week. I said, it's very likely that the reason we heard about Halo, Gears, Indiana Jones, all of the different titles that we heard about, it was them saying, we're considering. And we all heard it as, oh, they're coming. I said that the other day. I was like, maybe they're just considering all these titles. And that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what Phil said. He's like, we're going to bring these 4 and we're going to see how it goes. And they're not saying no to the other titles. They're like, we're not going to say no to those titles. We don't know. Like I said, I couldn't see Starfield coming over anytime soon because I think their plan with Starfield is to update it every 6 weeks and to have the game be in a completely different state by the time that Shattered Space comes out. And then when that happens, they'll have a much better idea of should we do this or not. Think about it like this. There'd be no reason to be working on porting Starfield right now. Nobody ever said they're porting Starfield right now. It was, it's coming, and then there were other people saying it was being considered. There was like 2 different things being said. You wouldn't be working on porting it right now. Why? For the same reason that when PlayStation takes a game to PC, they don't start working on the porting process until they're done, until they've delivered all DLC. So like, as an example, they're not going to start working on porting Horizon Forbidden West until after the DLC comes out. So then the DLC comes out, they start working on the porting, and then what happens? A year later, Horizon's on PC, okay? So same thing with Starfield. They have no reason to start porting Starfield right now because they're going to update it for every 6 weeks, and then they're going to deliver Shattered Space. And by that time, they'll have a perfectly good idea of, we spent this entire year updating Starfield, we delivered a DLC, the game's in a very different state. Let's look at how these games did. How did Hi-Fi do? How did Sea of Thieves do? How did Pentiment do? How did Grounded do? If the rumors are to be believed, those are the 4 that are coming. And then they would say, now's the time to start moving other games. And Starfield could very well be one of those games. I don't know if they have DLC plans for Indiana Jones. But he also said, after games have been out for a year, so it also seems like they have a standard in place to say, we're not going to move something super fast. We're going to wait. So this still feels like a staggered release of, and this goes against what some of the rumors were saying, like, oh, they're going to work towards where something comes out day and date on both. I mean, there could be games that do that. Like Blade could be one of the first games that lands multi-plat. They're just like, no, we're not going to stagger that game's release. We're going to launch it everywhere. What Phil said was, we don't know if these games are so tarnished by our brand's name that people won't buy them. Well, I don't know if it's tarnished by the brand's name. It's more of like, did we spend all this time, cementing these games as Xbox games to the point that like a PlayStation user would say, I don't want an Xbox game. Like, I don't know if that's a tarnishing as much of more of it's like a platform stigma. Like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that game. Like, I think that's silly. Like, I think Hi-Fi Rush is probably going to do very well on other platforms. It's a fantastic game. I don't know if they can get Hi-Fi Rush to run on the Switch, on the first Switch, but if they can get it on the Switch too, I think that's great. Yo, Whiskey Neat, thanks for gifting a member. There we go. For me as an Xbox player, it's very tame announcement. No major title moving over, and D4 coming to Game Pass in March is about it. I think the biggest takeaway is that they're sticking to day and date, and that there is a leap in the next-gen console. They're going to have a next-gen console, and they aim for it to be a big leap. Those are the biggest takeaways for me. I didn't think they were going to speak to Game Pass, and I certainly didn't think they were going to do another high-end console. I did not think they were going to do that. I thought they were going to go handheld and cloud hybrid. That's what I thought they were going to do. Because looking at the FTC documents, it was like they're really considering this cloud hybrid, and then we started hearing rumors about a handheld, and I was like, I think that's where they're going to go. Verge interview talking about the hardware. Spencer says, I'm a big fan of handhelds. I'm a big fan, but nothing to announce. Well, they said they're going to announce stuff this holiday. That's what I think Sarah Bond said that. So I don't want to read that entire quote. That's like a whole page. We might have to do like a separate show or something about the hardware, because that was the part that like got my attention when Sarah Bond started talking about this. Like, wait, what? They're doing they're going to do a big jump in hardware. So I'm going to jump on this podcast with Ginger Prime, and you guys stay here, keep watching. I'll put it up on the screen for you, and you can watch us talk about this. I see people on Twitter speculating on the 4 games, but understand that's a possibility only at the beginning. People are being cautious on this. Yeah, I'm telling you, if I was a big Xbox guy, I wouldn't start running victory laps. I know people are going to come to me and be like, you were wrong, hold the L. And it's like, I don't know. They seem like they're pretty open to Starfield coming. They're not announcing it yet. I don't know, bro. I wouldn't start running your... Hang on, I gotta put on the, woo, wow. Enter the studio. It looks to me like Ginger has stepped away. Okay. I'll put this up on the screen for you guys. You'll be able to hear him in just a second. Okay, there we go. Hang on a second. I can't hear you guys just yet. Okay, now I can.
Now you're good. Let's see here. Hey, guys.
Hey, bro.
We'll do a typical show intro here in a minute. Yeah, thank you, Lono, for joining us, dude.
Wait a minute. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to stay here. How do I have an idea.
Okay.
I have to send you... Aha, I did it.
Huzzah! All right, let's see here. All right, let's see here. I'm going to message Jada. See if he gets there. Let me rearrange my windows a little bit. Kirk, you got some gameplay queued up?
I do.
You're the best.
Diablo's left, and then Halo is right.
Cool. Y'all see the news today? Halo coming to GeForce Now?
I heard it from you. So
yes,
you're my news source.
There we go, guys. I'm excited. It's like that's the only one thing I'm excited about today.
Diablo on Game Pass.
World controller support is phenomenal, but
Diablo 4 on Game Pass.
But that was obvious. Like that's a nothing.
Dude, oh nothing God, shut up. It was not obvious. They had to announce it. Oh, I knew that was gonna happen because I know everything that's gonna happen always. So nothing's ever a surprise to me.
If you literally think that Diablo in Game Pass is news, you need to go become a gamer.
Wait. The brand IP that they spent like $60 billion on, it's a surprise that it's coming to Game Pass.
Yeah. See, Kirk's just like, all right, we can shut him down.
Bleep you guys, since we're a family-friendly channel.
That's good.
Bleep you guys.
Kirk, come on. Calm down.
It's a nice sweater.
Lono's telling me to calm down.
Yeah. You really, of all the people, I'm the best to speak on this. You really need to calm down. You're getting too loud.
I dropped the link to the Twitter thing. If y'all have the ability to lurk on that helps promote that it is live. So it's like, oh, so-and-so is listening, or I wish it would say like so-and-so is talking, but I dropped the link in private chat. If you can do that, great. If not, no worries. This is an option.
Can you Twitter DM it to me? Because I can
I
do
can
it on
Twitter,
my phone.
I can Twitter. Yeah, that's like that's what I end up doing. I've been doing is I just put it on my phone.
Because I don't want to take up my internet bandwidth.
Yeah,
ruin my video or anything.
Let me Twitter DM it to you. Okay, J-Jeb will be here in a second, so we'll
cool.
kick this off.
Ginger, I just hit you. I hit you with the Discord DM real quick. You just check it real quick.
Yes, sir.
I said something.
I got something on my mind. All right.
J-Dub is in a space.
I have had
he is speaking in a space.
And and then after that, like I have constantly I've been on Claritin. Like today,
I was trying to spare you. I was like, I wasn't gonna just say
I'm not embarrassed by anything, which my wife is really, disappointed that I have like that is not a bone in my body. Like,
come on, bro.
I feel like that has to be an Italian thing because I have that same condition.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be an Italian thing.
Yeah.
And like, because it's like she'll be like, "You got something on your face," and I'll just wipe something else on my face. It's like, all right, what? Really? Okay. Did I get it? No.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Like I've shared a lot of things that you probably wouldn't share amongst in-laws, and I find it hilarious. My wife just gives me the eye. She's just like, "Why would you say that right now?"
Hey man, Skull and Bones may not be a great game, but it's surprisingly not terrible.
What
That's an interesting
Put it
statement.
up. Put it on the box.
Put it on the box, baby.
It's a good review. I think that's the best thing you can say about that game.
There we go. I got your DM there, and that's the link on that. Let's see here. What's he doing?
That didn't work.
All right, I got that done.
Is it just like
All right.
on your page?
Yeah. It acts as a semi, like spaces and then live stream. So it's just
that link
interesting.
does nothing.
It doesn't take you anywhere. It literally
No.
just
It
Not to the
takes you to a
broadcast?
black screen.
weird. If you click on like Twitter home, you should see.
I've got your live right here on your.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I DM'd you again. Just ignore that.
Okay.
Damn, we got 56 people.
I gave some great advice to everyone. Buy your Valentine's Day flowers the day after.
The day after.
I don't know why
Yeah.
my face looks so red. Buy them the day after. That's how you get a upset wife.
Oh no, dude! Like my wife is like, we're gonna celebrate Valentine's Day on the 21st because everything's on discount, and she's super
Yep.
frugal. So like, I have made the mistake earlier on in our marriage of buying her gifts, and she absolutely hated it. And even so, the thing that she loves the most that I bought her, I had to fight her to try it, and I got her a I back in the big crypto like boom. I wasn't talking about it because I didn't want it to influence anybody one way or the other, but I put a little bit of money into the gambling machine, and I ended up winning. And so it, not much. I won like $500, and I took that money and bought her a Dyson hair dryer.
Okay.
Which she just loves, but she was like, "This is so ridiculous," so mad at me. And then I was like, "You just gotta use the hair dryer, and if you use the hair dryer," and then she was like, and to this day, she's like, "I'm so sorry I gave you such grief." What's up, J-Dub? Welcome, dude. We haven't officially started yet. We've just been in kind of a waiting room to fire this thing up.
Get that
Ooh.
music out of there.
Yeah, get that music out of here.
Oh, that's not gonna. Let's see. We might just have to go 5. Is that as juddery for y'all as it is for me?
It's juddery for me.
Yeah. We're just gonna go 5.
Let's go 5.
Piece.
I think that's more than
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. And then if we can, we'll probably not necessarily. We'll highlight, I guess, super chats if we end up getting any. No pressure. Just to keep from a capturing perspective, it's gonna make it a little bit easier if we for shorts and whatnot. All right, are you gentlemen ready to get started? Because we got a lot to talk about.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna run the intro, and then we'll be right back. I'll probably kill my music too, so that way I don't get shit and record. Here we go.
Epic Loop Radio. Epic Loop Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Epic Loot Radio. We got a roundtable of epic proportions to talk about the news, and I'm very curious as to everybody's thoughts. I could guess a couple of thoughts, but I'm curious to see if we got anything good out of this this week. But let's go ahead and go around the roundtable here and introduce everybody. Let's start with Lono. Thank you so much for jumping over with us today. Who are you, and where can people find you?
Well, yeah, I'm Lono. Reforge Gaming is the best place to find me on Twitter and on YouTube, and glad to be here. This is, I haven't done something like this in a while. It's been really tough with the schedule to do some of the podcasts.
All right. What about you, J-Dub?
What's going on, everybody? You guys know where to find me. Go on Twitter at JDubCity16. If you want to catch me on YouTube at JDub4U.
All right. Kirk.
The at Warmer Gray is in my little name tag there, and yeah, check out my YouTube channel. What's new video games? Got some reviews up on the channel that need some love, so go check those out. They need some views real bad. But yeah, I put a lot of effort in those, and you might find a new game that you might want to try out.
And Mark.
Hey everyone, my name is Mark. You could find me at Mark Liberto on Twitter. Nice long Italian name, and Late to the Game on YouTube. I mean, I'm loud and I make games too, so that's how I'll describe myself.
Late to the game, first to the podcast.
Yeah. There you go. It's all right. Anyway, today we're gathered around to talk about what is perhaps the worst handled marketing campaign that they produced of this podcast. It was the literal worst case scenario because they didn't tell us anything. They confirmed basically everything.
Okay, thank you. I'm so glad that you actually think that.
Same.
So
yeah,
worried.
like this
I was so worried.
To be very clear, I fully support their vision of games
Sure.
being everywhere, right? So that, I think they're making the right moves for the long term, but what we got today was dog crap, and I'm going to keep it family friendly as the best I can.
Nothing burger is
well, not even a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Oh, only 4 games. Oh, but don't take this as a signal that it's going to happen. More games are going to come. BS. Everybody's going to take that as a signal that more games are also on the table, and there's no actual announcements for the game that it's going to be. So it's still, and they were like, it's not Starfield and it's not Indiana Jones. I could care less because there's a huge catalog, and Xbox fans, in my opinion, they didn't get the value trade-off, right? I get it as a player. I'm like, this is great for gamers. But for the Xbox fanboy, like the diehard Xbox fanboys out there, what do they get out of this? And anybody just jump in and cut me off. I'm Italian, so I'll talk over dead air.
Well, I'll tell you this: the biggest thing I take from it, and shout out to Tom Warren, because he tweeted this out. He was like, Xbox chief Phil Spencer doesn't rule out Starfield and Indiana Jones coming to PS5.
He doesn't rule it out.
Phil Spencer said, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. So that begs the question. For one, there's 4 games that are coming, and those won't be the end all be all. We know there's going to be more. They spent 20 minutes just talking around in circles about nothing. They let this stuff fester for about a month, where they could easily just did a blog post on xbox.com, or have another interview with Paris Lily or some of the other guys, right? And just kind of come out and just say exactly what it is. Or, hey, these are just some of our older games or our smaller games we decided to share. No harm, no foul. But that leads to something else. It's something that's bigger, right? And my worst fear was that they were going to come out here and slowly pull the Band-Aid off, but not totally rip it off. And that's going to lead, guess what? There's going to be a huge cloud over Xbox this year. Every single month, every game. Hellblade 2, we know it's coming in April, May. There's going to be a cloud over that game. There's going to be a cloud on every game that comes out going forward. People are going to potentially say, hey, this, we may get this game in a few months, or it may come to PlayStation next year. They never quashed any type of issue in any of the questions that we had. They didn't answer any of them.
Well,
I'm going to push back on that, J-Dub.
Yeah, so was I.
He did
Yeah.
ask him point blank if Starfield or Indiana Jones was going to other consoles, and he looked in the camera and said no.
No,
Okay,
hang
those are 2
on.
games.
No.
Congratulations. Those 2 games.
It was about the 4 games, though. That was what was slick with it. It's not Indiana Jones and Starfield. It's not one of the 4 games. He's doing interviews with Tom Warren saying, I'm not going to say never, because they're open to Starfield coming. They won't say they're not going to do it. He just said it was such a smart PR move to be like, oh yeah, the first 4 games, it's not Starfield and Indy. Well, nobody thought the first 4 games were going to be Starfield and Indy because it would take longer to port those. They're bigger games.
Those weren't
bigger
even
titles.
part of the first 4 game rumors. The first 4 game the rumors were Sea of Thieves,
which is coming.
That's
Hi-Fi
actually
Rush.
one of them.
I mean,
Hi-Fi
Rush. Hi-Fi Rush
Pen-
was the big one. That was the first one.
Yeah.
Pentiment, potentially.
And then
I
either-
even saw Forza. I even saw Forza being tossed out there.
Could
So
be Forza, could be an unannounced.
I think it's grounded. I think
multiplayer
I think the
it's
fourth game
grounded,
is
too.
grounded.
Yeah.
Grounded is definitely also a good choice.
But guess what? We're here talking about games that we don't know that they could have answered. They wasted everybody's time. They could answer that, right? We would already know.
Yeah,
But we
that
could all be
response
wrong
didn't
right
make
now,
any
right? We
sense.
could all be wrong. And guess what? It could be Forza. It could be Halo multiplayer. It could be Gears. It could be any. We don't know. And guess what? We're gonna have to go for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, in the next months talking about this. And that's not good for Xbox. That's not good for Xbox.
I think we'll find out something next week because there was supposed to be a Nintendo Direct this week, and I think Jeff Grubb was out saying that supposedly it's been moved to next week because of the Xbox announcements. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something on that Direct next month or soon from Nintendo talking about a Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. And I also think how they phrased that question, Lono, it was very slick. How we said those 4 games, it was slick. But I also think it's indicative of the type of business model behind the games they're considering. The 2 small games, it's definitely easily Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. Those are small games that can live better on other platforms to get more players to experience them. But the larger games, probably, he referenced community focus, creator focus. So I think, to me, Halo could be it, but I do think it's Sea of Thieves and Grounded, and that seems to be what the reports are hinting at now. And honestly, I think that makes sense for those games because once they get another release on more platforms, then the player is going to increase again and gives them some more life, and maybe they have some updates coming down the road too.
Right.
Is Grounded still in early access?
No, it officially hit 1.0, didn't it? Yeah. The only thing I wanted to push back on what J-Dub said just a teeny bit when you're like, they didn't answer anything. We got to give them some credit. They did firmly say day and dates continuing for first party. That was a huge question mark for people, and they did firmly say, Sarah Bond said, the next-gen console is going to be the biggest leap. So they're confirming they're making another console that will be high-end, and those were 2 big questions. So I was like, okay, they did answer that, but I'm with you, Jay. They wasted a ton of time saying nothing but PR corpo nothing. It was like, it was the most non-Phil Spencer I've ever seen Phil Spencer be. It was like, I felt like he was nervous. It felt awkward. It was like, what are y'all? They're not saying anything.
He looked like he's been beaten up, and maybe he was sick, right? Like, because, go ahead, Jay.
Let me ask you this. Okay, they said that now, and see here, and this is the credibility problem that Phil and those other executives have built up over time. What they say today, right? Like, we're going to try, and we've attempted to do this in the past. We've attempted to hold them to their words for that day and that time. That going forward, this is how it's going to be. Just 6 months down the line, for them to tell us something different. I'll reverse back a year from now, when Sarah Bond came out and said, these are the 12 games that you're going to be playing in the next 12 months. Well, and we only got like 3 of those games, right? The rest of them got canceled or delayed or for whatever reason. And they came out and apologized. Okay, well, we won't tell you. Yeah. I just, at this point in time, all of their goodwill as far as holding them down to exactly to the T of what they said is kind of would be crazy to do that.
To your point, Brian, about him looking beat up, I think the last 2 weeks or so have been hell for him. Like, internally, there's probably been so many meetings because of this news leaking out the way people didn't want it to, and then employee population getting concerned. He did say that they had this planned, and I think it's why he said it since December. So I imagine the fact that you have something planned and then it comes out this way, you never want that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's just been torn apart from all kinds of angles internally. He's got to be tired from that.
Yeah.
But I honestly am not surprised by any of this. It is nothing to me. Like, this is all. this is what they were gonna like when Phil Spencer came out last May and basically said we lost the worst generation we could lose, and we're investing in the Xbox ecosystem the way we did. Of course, this is gonna happen. Of course, they're gonna bring games to other people. Like, I don't know. Part of me just almost doesn't care. Like, in a way, like I want games to be in more places, but I don't know, them bringing games to other places, it just doesn't surprise me at all.
Lono brought up a good point. Oh, go ahead, Kurt.
No, you're fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
Well, because the point that Lono brought up about hardware, I think is really where I want to get everybody's thoughts now, because I argue that they aren't getting out of hardware, but here's the real thing. What does that even mean? The biggest technical leap, right? Like, one of the things that I've seen Lono rant about, rightfully so, is the marketing behind the Series X and S. And I've even pushed back on some of those points, saying, like, it's also, I feel like PlayStation 5. Like, when we saw 3 years into this generation, that frames per second go from 60 to 30, like it really kind of feels like what's going on here, right? We were like 60 frames is so good. And some people will be like 30 frames is fine. It's like, no, like this is what they were really pushing more Microsoft than anybody else this generation. 60 frames, 120 frames. This is 4K, and I'm not going to sit here and expect that a console at $500 is going to do what my, computer can do at 5,000. I don't have that disillusion that I see some people like make, but when it comes down to marketing, that felt more marketing to me than anything else, because they weren't then ready to kind of tell us more. It's the biggest leap in technology. That to me, as somebody who thinks on the technology side, I go, that to me sounds more like they're investing in their cloud infrastructure, which is what Satya Nadella has continued to say, that this is a cloud. We're a cloud company. Xbox is going to be cloud. What do y'all think?
Oh my gosh. If they played some kind of verbiage trick and it's not about the hardware being really strong, because that's what got my attention. I was like, oh, she said biggest leap. I'd have to go back and look at the exact verbiage, because
that's what she said.
If it's the cloud hybrid and that's what they view as the biggest leap, because they're going to be able to give you like 4K cloud gaming, oh my, no, that's not what I'm like.
Lono, think about it, Lono. This is the last, this 2 generations, right? Last generation, this generation, they've had the world's most powerful console. How has that helped them at all in the gaming space? When PlayStation has the better looking games, the better running version of the multiplayer, it hasn't really returned the dividends. And if she's saying, right, like you think she's saying they're going to make another world's most powerful console, that's going to fall on deaf ears. Nobody's going to pay attention to that, because you've had the world's most powerful console for the last 2 generations.
Unless it's like $800, then I might believe them. Like if it's egregiously priced, then I might actually believe them.
You know what? But, and guess what? And then they could drop another Xbox Series S type device alongside that, which will leave them in the same situation that they are now, right? And so,
Ginger and I got into that debate. I can't remember if it was on an Epic Loot Radio, or if we were just in the comments on one of our videos or whatever. But yeah, I was saying that I think that they need to drop an $800 high-end console that vastly outperforms and costs. It costs $100 or $200 more than the PlayStation to sort of provide that value proposition. I don't think that they can compete in the same lane as PlayStation. They need to make a device that is high-end, that is closer to a PC for the people that want that, because otherwise, in terms of native hardware that runs native games, like, what are you offering me as a console maker that I can't get from the other guys? And if you say Game Pass, PlayStation Plus is getting better every day. It's getting better every single day.
It's a little bit confusing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, J-Dub.
I was just going to say just these 2 points. When you think of power, Xbox right now has 12 T-flops of power. It's the world's most powerful console. But then when you look at the games that really make your jaw drop, you look at Horizon Burning Shores. You look at, we just had Death Stranding 2 that everybody was gawking over, right? That's running on the PS5, right? Which is a 9 to 10 T-flop system. So people gawk over those games. They don't gawk over the 12 T-flop games, right? Because the games that generally Xbox shows us, like Hellblade, it looks good. It looks great. But I mean, it's 12 T-flops, and it doesn't really show off the power of the 12 T-flops. And we know it's probably going to get hamstrung like the rest of the games because of the Series S.
I would push back on that. I think Hellblade looks about as good as any video game has ever looked.
According to Digital Foundry, it doesn't.
I think it's good to take a step back, though, and to say that this current generation PS5 and Series X, they're struggling hand in hand, too. And there's something to say about that as well, where the PS5, there was news from Sony just the other day that they're already viewing the PS5 near the end of its cycle, which I don't know what that means at all. But there's something...
That was an incorrect quote.
That's not what they said,
Okay. Yeah, that was the middle, because it's 4 years into this generation. And generally, generations last between 6 to 7 years.
It's just factually. Wait, is it 4 years? I thought it's only been 3.
At the end of this year.
Well, it's 2020.
Yeah, so that's 3 years, Lono.
Well, no.
If at the end of this year it's 4 years, that means it's been 3 years. We're at the beginning of a year. That's how years work.
Right.
I know. I'm crapping on J-Dub, not you, Lono.
It depends on the generations, right? A typical generation would be anywhere between 5 to 6 years would be typical, right? But
Yeah.
if we go back in the 360 and the PS3 era, though, it lasted a little bit longer, and I mean,
It
just,
depends on the success of the console, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and think
and
about
we had COVID, and then we had COVID. That
Yeah.
ultimately, I believe this generation should extend 3 years, because those first 3 years, I mean, there was lack of supply, and developers got hamstrung. So I don't know. I don't know. You know, we know. You know, 9 times 10, we got a PS5 Pro coming. We got a Switch 2 coming this generation. We got a Xbox Series X all digital coming. Like, I don't know. Will these things extend the generation into 2028, 2029, perhaps 2030? I don't know.
And I think that's important, right? Because again, if the PS5 they admitted sales are struggling, they didn't hit their mark, they're kind of disappointed in it, and I just think that says something about the overall gamers' appetite for what we're getting now from these two players. There isn't a lot of innovation, right? And to your point, Kirk, about having an $800 premium console, I think that'd be a horrible idea for Xbox, because those people are going to go buy a PC instead,
Right.
and it makes no sense because the console business is so small too. Right, they're much better on creating an ecosystem where they can sell their games on PC and all kinds of other devices. Where that device, I mean, it'd be cool. As a tech guy myself, I'd love to have it.
I mean,
just think that'd make no business
there's too
sense.
many people that went out and bought an ROG Ally for me to think that to agree with you. I don't agree with you. I think if they make a high
there's only
powered
3.
console,
There's only about 3 million between the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, and the Lenovo.
well, yeah, but then
That would be
you
a
don't
failure.
you don't need to make a bunch of them.
You
Yeah,
still
but are
need-
you gonna sink all the R&D? You know, $1 billion
Exactly.
worth of R&D just to sell 2 million units?
to that point, would you rather do that, or would you rather have other manufacturers take that risk for you and you just put
Right.
Game Pass on there? And again, that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing already.
Yeah.
I think
But
exactly
one
what
thing
they're
I
doing.
want to return to Mark about the comparisons between the two in this generation and struggling. Yes, they are struggling as far as
It's so funny. 54
okay.
million is like, oh man, that is
it's not
struggling.
that's
Like, man,
and
I'd kill to sell 4
it's not
million of
struggling.
anything.
Yeah. So Sony, PlayStation, by any chance of any stretch of the imagination, is not struggling at all, right? They are. Matter of fact, what happened is they projected, which was far exceedingly. They were too. I guess they were too. I guess they got a little bit too greedy, and
Sure.
they thought, and they set their projections extremely high, which was 25 million units sold in 2023, and they ended up selling, I think, 23 units. So they're going to miss their projections by 2 million. But the problem is, I mean, which is, I guess, a good problem to have, is that is still far exceedingly more than any PlayStation's ever in history.
Yeah.
That is, matter of fact, they sold more units last year in 2023 than Xbox did the entire generation. That tells you how good they're doing. But again, you know, it just like Square Enix, right? They're never happy, even though the game sells 15 million copies, because their projections are just too high, and they just believe that their product is just so good, and they need to do double that. So that's an internal thing. PlayStation doesn't have an issue selling hardware, whereas Microsoft does. They were selling the Xbox Series S for $139 this holiday. They were selling the Series X for $349, right? They basically cut the price in half, and they still weren't able to win NPD. They still weren't able to sell out of the consoles, and so that's a big struggle. And the problem is, if you don't have great games, high quality games, and consistently, then people won't buy into your console. But they need people to buy the hardware so they can get the revenue to keep making the game. So it's the chicken versus the egg for Xbox. And I don't know if they'll ever be able to.
No, they sell the hardware at a loss. So that's what they're talking about. Is they're saying we're gonna expand beyond the hardware and give people ways to interact with our ecosystem and buy games and play games and you know, invest in, you know, in-game stores and things like that. You know, if it's a first.
They've been doing that. They've been doing that for the last 2 generations, right? They've been pushing the Samsung TV. They've been pushing the cloud. They've been pushing the cell phones and all this stuff.
We haven't had the tech for that. I mean, that's why Google Stadia failed. It's just like, it's
Game Pass has been a thing since when? 2018,
17?
They haven't had
2017,
xCloud on
right?
phones since, like, it's only been like 2 years.
I think the main point though is they need to have revenue, to invest in their platform, and I don't think they look at hardware as the source of that revenue. I think they see the $40 billion PC market, which is, I'm pretty sure, bigger than the console market, as a way to extend that. And they also see the other half of the console market as a way to extend that as well. And you are right. If you don't have innovative games coming out on your hardware, you're not going to incentivize people to play there. And I think, again, when Phil had that interview in May, I feel like they admitted that. They lost the worst console generation to lose in PC, PS4, Xbox One, and they're pivoting while still maintaining some aspect of that Xbox brand. I don't know.
Seems like such a half measure, though, like with what we saw today. So
Because you wanted them to double down on
they have
going
a unique strength,
further,
right? Because
yeah.
when, like on the last podcast where we talked about it, it's like, I don't think Xbox is done. I think they actually, like, they're just going into the blue waters to fight a whole different fight where this is how things were. And today was not that announcement, in which essentially they just kicked the can down the curb. And that's why I'm frustrated with how they handled today. But with the question that I cannot rectify, and I get the pushback, because this, what I'm going to say will generate questions from y'all most likely, but what is the future when you have these devices coming out? Like, yes, maybe the Rogue Ally only sold 3 million, but that's actually a really interesting offering coming in and at a high price for a handheld. But when you have these devices that do play your PC games that can just hook up to your TV, Steam is one of this for a long time. What room, what space, what avenue does the console, essentially a single-use kind of device, have in our future when all of a sudden that becomes real competition? Just like we said, like PC games, Sony has already announced there more PC games are coming to the PC. Helldivers 2 is an absolute, I think, must-buy, must-play kind of game. So if you haven't had a chance to play that game, it is really good. Sony, I think, did a really good job. They're working on some of the issues, but I think overall, like, holy crap, more of that, please, Sony. You know, I think that would be great. But then all of a sudden, imagine somebody's like comes out, I am another manufacturer. They, like, if they license the operating system from Microsoft and you could boot up your Rogue Ally, you have your Xbox dashboard. Oh, and then it turns out you can run Steam. Okay, cool. I think that's the wild card. That's the unique advantage that Windows has, that because they have Windows running on the Xbox, but it's a web restricted OS. PlayStation tried to categorize the PS3 as a PC, but yeah.
The Xbox has tried, Microsoft has tried that before with the multiple operating systems. They tried it with their Surface tablets with the version of RT and all kinds of other different stuff
like that.
Yeah. The stuff just didn't work. So I just don't know if they'll ever get it to work like that. It seemed like it would be like the perfect thing. Just put the Xbox OS on every device and just let that be that. And guess what? You still get your little cut of the fee of the operating system that's sold for every device. And you get the Game Pass that comes along with that device and things like that. I'm gonna be honest, I just, for the life of me, I just don't understand how the world's richest company, when it comes to gaming, hasn't figured this stuff out yet. We're like I said, going on 4 years into this particular generation, and they're still trying to find their identity. They're still trying to find themselves. In us as console gamers, invest $500, $600 into these consoles, even more with accessories and games and stuff. We invest all this money into these, and that's supposed to be for the long haul. Well, the system launched in 2020. This will see me through 2026, 2027, or whatever. So we invest into that. And a couple of years in, there's all these major changes, and here we are now with some more changes. But they're constantly trying to find out where they want to be, and what does their goal? What does that mean to the average gamer, someone like me, right? You're making all these changes and stuff, but how does that stuff benefit me? I don't game on the cloud. I don't game on all this stuff.
It doesn't, J-Dub, and if I can jump in, like, all these conversations and all this planning and scheming and strategizing and whatever that is, internally, that's what's come out. That's why all these news articles have happened over the past couple weeks. All of that is sort of angling at taking advantage of this broader new frontier and capitalizing on it, and somehow that making Xbox relevant and prominent again. When the reality is that PlayStation goes out and makes a box that's appealing, that's a brand that people trust, that resonates with people, that they want. It's desirable. It's sexy in a way. The console, it looks sexy. It's not just a rectangle black block, and the games on it are they're exclusive, they are special, they are premium in terms of the quality, in terms of the availability, the accessibility on other platforms. You can't play it on PC until 6 months to a year later, if at all. You know, that may change, but right now that's the case. And like, they have stuck to that and just hammered it so hard for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years on. Just, we do this, beating Xbox into submission. And Xbox is trying desperately to get out from under that palm. They can't do it. Like, they think that they can expand into these new horizons, and that's why they have nothing to say. Like, they had absolutely nothing to say today. Like, it basically amounted to, we're still in third place, we still don't have value prop, and we're evaluating and assessing that, and we're always looking for new ways to make things more appealing for Xbox gamers and put your games every. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that the way they didn't care about it in 2013 when they got out there and said, oh, you can do this instead of DirecTV on your Xbox. Nobody cared about that then. It's like they're still repeating the same habits, the same patterns. Gamers want games. Living room console gamers want games on their box. They want the best games, and they want all the games on the box. And Xbox can't deliver on that, so they're trying to find another way to get into people's living rooms and to get into people's mind share. And I mean, as we saw with Stadia, like, people don't want to make that jump. Not the majority of people. It's just not appealing. People want what they want, and like, PlayStation has established that they can deliver on what people want, and it's a system and it's a methodology that works for them. It's a brand and strategy that works for them. And Jim Ryan got a bad rep, but boy did he deliver on that strategy, and boy did he deliver for PlayStation gamers. And Xbox just, they're trying everything that they can to sort of take advantage of markets that do not have a proof of concept. They don't have a proof of concept yet. And they think that they're going to go out and prove that because they went and bought King, and they've got all these, you know, resources and all this money. I don't know that there's this swath of people that want to take advantage of all that. Like, I think that people want what is already available on another platform brought to you by another company, that Xbox can't do it as well. And that's just the way that it is.
Well, and the thing that I said as soon as it was over, I was like, if I was a hardcore Xbox fan, I would have not left that podcast feeling very satisfied, because all they did primarily was just repeat the talking points they've said for years. You know, play anywhere, cross-play, cross-save, Game Pass day and date. And it's like, okay, great. Like, you kind of convinced me these are value points 3, 4, and 5 years ago. If you're trying to affirm and really assert what is Xbox right now, when Sarah Bond said, we want people playing on Xbox to feel like they're going to get the world's best games, and then she just started randomly like bullet point listing stuff like Game Pass and cross progression, and they were like repeating themselves. There was something awkward about it. It was like they didn't have that much to say, because I really do feel they are very much so trotting out the marching orders of Microsoft, and they're trying to push that through that funnel and lens and, you know, PR, Xbox talk speak. They're trying to say, well, Microsoft wants us to do this. How in the world do we position this and still sound like Xbox? Like I said, it was the most non-Phil Spencer. I always praise him. I'm like, he's a wordsmith. He's great in interviews. He's got great presence. He's always been so good. And this, I was like, this doesn't feel like Xbox. And it also doesn't feel like Phil Spencer. And it also just didn't feel like they were fermenting this idea or cementing this idea of like, you want to stay with us. It was like, we're going to take 4 games and put them elsewhere, and then Diablo's coming to Game Pass. And then chat told me, she said the greatest technical leap on the next console. Well, that could be anything. That's not a performance leap. So now I'm thinking, well, golly, like I could see them making a killer handheld. I think that there's a handheld market potential growth, like Kirk's saying. Maybe it's not proof of concept, but I think there's potentially huge growth for handhelds in the coming future. And I think Microsoft could be a killer competitor in there, because if they get that Surface team cranking out an amazing handheld, I would buy it.
People also buy multiple handhelds. Like, that's one of the things that when I see people praise Nintendo numbers, like, I go, yeah, Nintendo, they're selling great. I'm not dogging on the numbers, but it's also there's a hidden factor in terms of like how many gamers are actually that. I own multiple Nintendo Switches. Now, I would have only owned one Nintendo Switch if it hooked up to the television, but because it's a handheld, just like with the DS and the Game Boy and before, I buy multiple of their handhelds. And so them and Xbox go in that direction. But then the question is what does that then do differently that I can't get from the Rogue Ally or the Steam Deck, which actually then plays games that aren't available to me? Like why step into that market and then be come in with both hands tied behind your back?
Yeah,
I do want to before I lose my train of thought, I do want to try and spin some analysis out of this this absolute dust bowl tumbleweed of a 22-minute nothing podcast, and pull something out of my ass. Which is that, again, to harken back to, I want to draw a parallel with the 2013 announcement and how damaging that was to the Xbox brand. The idea that they were going to become about more than the traditional sort of narrow scoped idea of gaming, that they were going to branch beyond that, and that was going to be appealing. That was going to be something that was going to be in demand, that people wanted for whatever reason, and it wasn't. Like, the entire gaming populace, at least console gamers, pushed back on that, and they said, we're not interested in that. And the Xbox brand suffered irreparably. And so what changed, I went on a whole monologue about this last week, which is the only reason why anybody might actually know who I am, what changed was in 2020 or 2019, I can't remember, when the consoles were about to come out, they started changing their messaging, and Phil started talking directly to gamers and talking directly to the maligned, aggrieved Xbox base and saying, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to buy a Bethesda, we're going to compete, we're going to make some great games, we're going to make Fable, we're going to make Hellblade 2, we're going to make Halo really good, we're going to put Starfield exclusive to our platform, we're going to make sure that that's the game of the generation. We're going to do all these things, we're going to get back in this race, we're going to it'd be like every year in football or whatever your favorite sport is, people who are watching, it's like, this is our year. Dallas Cowboys fans, this is our year. We're going to the Super Bowl, right? Like, let's go. And you need that. Like, if you just lose constantly, the morale just sinks. And so their messaging changed, and it was about, we're going to get back to basics. We're going to make good games that are going to come on our platform, and it's going to make our platform desirable. It's going to make our platform a good experience, a good product to have. That's what we're going to deliver on. You can expect it. Like post market, we're come buy our console, and we're going to deliver on that. And now 3 years later, they failed. Okay, they failed. Let's not get it twisted. They failed. Redfall, one of the worst games to come out, like from first party Xbox ever. Especially if we're talking like AAA.
Glad you clarified first party, because then I was like, there's been a lot of other games.
This isn't Kong Skull Island, Brian. This isn't Lord of the Rings Gollum. But it's in the conversation with those games, which is ridiculous. The way that game was being propped up, the way that they were showing trailers of that game like it was going to be, the second coming of, I don't know, Borderlands meets Stranger Things or whatever. And then Starfield comes out and it's fine. Like, it's middling. It's fine. It's an 8. A lot of people gave it a 7. I think it's an 8. But, it's not pushing the boundaries that they claimed it was going to. And then after those two, like, that's it. That's all they had. Like, that. Like, it's like they went 8-8, and they're like, we should just trade all our players and go, 1-16 next year. I mean, it doesn't make any. They're just pivoting right back to the 2013 messaging of, we'll try other stuff. We're gonna let PlayStation do that, and then we're gonna go. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Like, people want Xbox to be good and to be comparable to PlayStation. Nobody ever asked them, except for Brian here, to like go do something else and offer some sort of other alternative value proposition that nobody wants. If those people want that, they're on PC already. Like, the brand of Xbox, the Xbox was created in the vacuum that exists because Sega could not stay in that space. So Xbox got involved.
Was afraid of Sony being under the television and dominating the living room.
That was why.
What's happening right now? What is happening right now? And what can Xbox do? They are helpless. They are powerless with all their money and all their resources and all their good premium games that are coming to the platform.
Sony is then doing the thing when I would say Samsung and smart TVs literally just they aped what the consoles and what Sony and Xbox are trying to do. Not that they're like I'm dogging on any of their sales. I'm just saying
J-Dub, it's like it's all the future.
So
it's the future.
It's literally right now.
The future. In the future, Xbox will matter again when it's the cloud and on your phone and it's the future. It hasn't been the future for a decade. They have done nothing in a decade.
You're fighting a ghost here. You're shadowboxing, and let's put you back to school. Samsung and smart TVs. No, you're sitting here making an argument that I'm definitely not making. The YouTube, the Netflix, all of your apps and television and all that stuff is just an app on your TV now. It literally apes what the Xbox originally and what Sony used to do. Like Netflix was the biggest installed through the old consoles, especially on the 360 and the PlayStation 3 era. That's when that whole took off. But then TVs, which they tried to push TVs into this 3D TV, and everybody's like, that's stupid. And then essentially they went with, smart TVs. That's what people want. They want, really nice pictures and really nice screens. Turns out it does all these things. That then takes away one of the big selling points. Like, why is the PS2 one of the highest selling consoles of all time to this day? It is the highest. But it's the player.
But the only reason that happened, though, the only reason that, and people keep bringing this up, that's PlayStation. Yes, it is the number one most selling.
Red herring.
But the only reason is because that generation, the console itself sold for 13 years. Literally sold for 13 years. They produced that console for 13 years. Yeah. No other generation has lasted that long, and no other device has lasted that long, right? So, of course, you won't get to that point. Maybe Nintendo Switch, right? If they keep it around another year or two, it may reach that and surpass it, but your console has to do that. But make no mistake about it, the PS5 is surpassed the PS2 and the PS3 and the PS4 at this particular time. So if we keep on with this trajectory and this console lasts for 10 years, they'll probably reach 155, right? And if it goes longer, but the only reason PS2 did that was
the
because
only way
it
that
was
PlayStation
longer,
can then double and then double again is in terms of the hitting some kind of massive mass market price, of which their goal is they make money on the sales of the consoles, which is
but they do. They did that ever since the first year.
But I'm saying that in order for PlayStation to really try to continue to keep this level of acceleration, that's where usually you see another models come out, which reduces their overall cost, sees their price comes down. And right now, especially with inflation and things like that, that's another thing that's pushing and keeping the price from truly falling, because as everything is going up in price, technically these systems are actually getting cheaper, but people are feeling pinched and people are feeling absolutely. Game. Now, one of the things about technology, going back to Kirk's points, because there is some future technology that when they talk about the next biggest leap in technology, the only two things that come to my mind are AI and with cloud. And so if we're talking about them putting in AI generation chips that are going to help do whatever,
both things that people don't want, cloud and AI.
I think that's a generational thing, Kirk, because when you start looking at what Apple's doing with their handheld and the fact that I was talking with 30 last night on his podcast, shout out to 30 and Still Gaming. He plays his xCloud, his Xbox games on his Meta Quest 2. Which it's it's all being processed and rendered. And he's like, it's great. I have this ultra massive screen. I'm playing these games, having a great time. And so it's that I think when we talk about the future tech, I think will be a generational divide where people, just like they're saying, I'm never going to go digital. I'm going to have physical media. And then at some point, there's going to be a hard drawn line in the sand. I think essentially at some point, one of these consoles will, or both, maybe even the PS6 will be an always online console, because they're going to tap into cloud compute to keep costs down. So they don't have to sit here and say, we don't have to put all of this stuff physically in there, but we're going to make sure we have cloud compute so we can compete.
That's a great point, because I want to go back to what Kirk said. When Kirk said no one wants that, Microsoft wants that. And I want to revisit a few great points.
Supply and demand. Supply and demand. There's no demand.
Kirk, listen here. Okay, so Jay, you brought up a great point, which is that Microsoft's one of the most profitable companies in the world, right? And the gaming aspect of that profit is minuscule. So you have to say, well, what's the core competency of a company like Microsoft? It is cloud infrastructure, it is networking, it is that type of technology. Any business segment internally is going to try to follow that model, subscription service and all of that. So I that's why I think, Brian, you're spot on, and it's easy to read the tea leaves, is because to them, they want that business model to be similar in terms of what gaming is to the rest of the market. And they have so much infrastructure and footprint, they can make that technological leap into the gaming space. It's already everywhere else. I'm a cloud architect.
Sure,
That's
sure,
what
they
I
could
do.
it. They could do it, but we'll get. Here's the thing: they could do it, right? But are gamers partaking now? Like Microsoft hasn't even mastered the art of just creating great games, right? So and then you're looking.
true.
No. Listen.
It's
And
true.
I'm going to be honest. Think about it, right? As a longtime Xbox guy,
Mastered. They should try and do it once.
for the last 2 generations, they have not been consistent in good quality software.
I would agree.
The good trusties, right? The Halo, Gears, and the Forzas have been the only consistent, high quality type things, and even this generation is going downhill, right? This Forza is the lowest.
Horizon
Forza,
5 is incredible.
That's a
Like
great
they
game.
do have
No,
bangers,
yeah,
but
the Horizon series, I can actually see them killing off the Motorsport series, right? It's for whatever reason. They haven't mastered that, and the Microsoft is all over the place in all these different buckets, and these guys come out on the stage. Yeah, we want to go for the game over here and the game over there and the game of this, and we want to do all this stuff and cater to PlayStation and cater to Nintendo. You can't even cater to your base. Right? You can't even fulfill them and what they wanted. What they really wanted was, just like Kurt said, they wanted a competitive to the PlayStation, where PlayStation has its single player games that are goaties and that are consistent high quality, and they're just the throne of what PlayStation is. Xbox doesn't have that anymore. You used to have it with the Halo, Gears, and the Forza.
And maybe if they get their head right, their mind right, their strategy right, they'll deliver on Marvel's Blade. Keep that exclusive.
Absolutely.
If Disney will let them. It'll be a smash hit if they get out of the weeds of all this other stuff, that they would just make good games and sell your platform based on the fact that there's good games on it.
No, Phil said it. We're going to see fewer and fewer exclusives. Like, I don't think you can
we're going to
keep
see
selling.
fewer and fewer Xboxes in people's living rooms.
Well, they don't care about that. I think the point is that the console market is not growing. We've hit our plateau as a market. So Xbox is saying we need to go where there are people currently not playing games, whether it's through cloud, whether it's through TVs, mobile, etc. Now, I do think there's a danger there, because I don't know if that market, if people are currently not a gamer, I don't know if you're going to convince them to be a gamer with cloud gaming through their television or gaming on mobile. Now, they're going to make money off mobile, because we know King Mobile prints money, and that's going to be a great revenue stream for them. But I don't know if they're going to grow their actual MAU market share in those pockets. It's like, I don't know if you're going to suddenly have a ton of new active users in the Xbox user base because you threw Halo on a TV or a cloud. Those people aren't gaming now. So I don't know if
chasing invisible.
Well, what's interesting
They're
about
chasing
this,
invisible people.
well,
right. The catalyst to get those people to game isn't cloud, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to go to Mark, because you're going to make a point, but then I want to come back to this, because those people are real. I know a lot of them. You guys know a lot of them, and when they go and have that experience, they're just former gamers. They're just gamers who used to be us, and then essentially were like, life got in the way and they got busy, and so they don't game, and then all of a sudden, like doctors and lawyers, like a lot of people were like playing Stadia in the hospitals because it became available, and they're like, this is great, this is what I want. I don't have the time to go and invest money into an ecosystem. I just want to be able to jump onto the latest game, because I miss that, and that's what they want. Mark, I want to go to you.
So I don't think cloud gaming they're expecting it to be the biggest portion of revenue in the future. I think first and foremost, they just care things are profitable, right? So I think all the points being brought up are accurate, right? Like, they know for a while that they don't make the best games compared to the caliber of games that come from Sony or Nintendo. That's why they spend billions of dollars buying IPs, right? And I think that's for 2 reasons. One, to help incentivize people who might be on the fringes that want to play on their phones or want to play on cloud gaming, but also it helps stabilize revenue when they want to bring those games to other platforms. So Lono, I think you and I are aligned. We're like, I don't know. I don't think they truly care in the long run if the Xbox console is around as the premier console. They care about the Xbox business being profitable, and they're going to do that through a variety of ways, whether it's bringing games and publishing them on other consoles, whether it's attracting people with those big IPs to other ways to play, which I personally, I don't have an incentive to want to play cloud gaming, but I could see how other people are. My nephew's 17, my other nephew's like 10. They do that stuff, right? And that's where gaming grows. That's where it grows all the time. And if you want to grow into a market, you have to focus on that. So again, I don't think I'm disagreeing here with anyone, but I think they have to get IPs. That's why they bought them. I don't think they've really figured out how to perfect that development cycle yet. I think COVID, J-Dub, as you said, has hurt everyone for a while too. Like even Sony said they're not coming out with any new first-party games until 2025 maybe, which is a little bit of a gap for them too that they're concerned about. But yeah, in the future, they care about profitability to the Xbox business, and that's beyond consoles. That is revenue from games on other consoles. That's revenue from games everywhere else, whether it's subscriptions or just sales from other units.
Did you guys catch that Sarah Bond said 34 million for Game Pass subscribers? Now, I'm assuming she was including the new there was a new injection from Xbox Core, Game Pass Core, because they converted all those people.
Oh, the people that have live? They're counting the people that have live?
Well, now hang on. She said 34 million after she was talking about Diablo coming to Game Pass. So I'm wondering if it's not just going to hit Game Pass, are they also going to add it to the Xbox Game Pass Core catalog so that they can say, hey, yeah, 34 million people can now play Diablo 4? Because when she threw out the 34 million, I thought, I know they had a big influx from Starfield, so we know it jumped there. We don't know if it jumped and stayed, but they also got an influx from Xbox Live. Yes. I don't know if there was 9 million
people. They might add it
people.
to Core, because we haven't had any additions to Core, right?
For sure, and it makes good sense to... Yeah, it's a good game to add to Core. It's an ABK game. It's a live service game. Like I think I think that announcement was them. They're like, we got to give these people something because we're telling them we're taking property and putting it elsewhere. Like, what are we going to give to our people? I think they had to do that.
Yeah, which it's a good announcement. Like that's literally the best game that they published last year.
If a better announcement would have been Call of Duty. Like let's not beat around the bush. Like if they came in,
in terms of like mass appeal, but in terms of what is actually the better
majority
game,
of the people play Warzone anyway. They don't play.
Right, but imagine that there's an integration there, and then all of a sudden, if you're a part of Game Pass, and then you get special whatevers within the Warzone, like it just those kind of integrations, I think, are a very strong power play, and we see that same kind of play that Amazon Prime uses. We're giving out like, hey, if you got this, then we're just going to give you all this other stuff. And it's nothing burgers. It's just like, but it's still kind of like, oh, all right, that's nice. I get a little treat today.
Diablo 4 could have been huge for them for announcing for Xbox gamers. But like Lono said, they snuck it in there as we got to give these guys something. There should have been a huge announcement around that, not just, it just kind of came out.
It's always reactive.
Yes. And it's like, that would have been huge saying, hey, for the month of March, Diablo 4 is now in Game Pass and it's huge. That could have been their big, wow type moment, right? A positive. But now it's like, oh, you only told us that because PlayStation is getting 4 games and we don't even know what 4 games are those now. Now, granted, it could be the smaller games that nobody want to play anyway, but it also could be 1 or 2 big games that they wanted to hide and they wouldn't dare be in front of the cameras saying those games because they don't want even more backlash that they're already going to get. So I don't know.
The month of March is March is for playing Suicide Squad, right, Mark?
Oh, better than Skull and Bones. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, good. Y'all don't like it either. Thank goodness.
So
I haven't played it yet.
One more comment.
We'll talk about that Monday.
One more comment again, going about just profitability of the Xbox business, because they now own Call of Duty, which is the 3rd highest grossing video game franchise ever, and they now own World of Warcraft, which is the 10th. Now, World of Warcraft in the future, I don't know, but again, I don't think the Xbox business is going to struggle, but I will admit, I don't think consoles are going to compete against PlayStation 1-for-1 at any point, and I don't think internally they expect that either. Now, the messaging hasn't been great, but I still think the tea leaves are pretty clear just when you patch everything together with where things are going.
Speaking of bringing games that Xbox owns to subscription platforms, I gotta set my boy Jay Fake News Dub City here straight for posting all over on Twitter with his boy Jay Barry Stripe. Xbox brought Outer Worlds to PS Plus Xbox is bringing all their first party IP to PS Plus now. That absolute bullcrap fake news, and you know it. That Private Division, which is a Take-Two company, owns the rights to The Outer Worlds because they have the publishing rights to that game because it was before the acquisition that Xbox made of Obsidian. So yes, Xbox owns Obsidian as a studio, but they have no say over where Private Division puts that game, and if Private Division puts that game in PlayStation Plus, which they probably didn't want to. And there's a whole controversy about that game and the Spacer's Choice Edition, which is like the complete edition, but apparently it's worse than the actual original game. But Private Division put that out as like a money grab because they control the publishing rights. That's how publishing rights work. So all you guys posted all over Twitter, every Xbox game is coming to PS Plus now because Xbox put Outer Worlds on PS Plus. Xbox probably hated that game went to PS Plus, but they didn't have any part in that decision.
If Xbox guys can go out there and tell it's their exclusive and their company owns it and it's theirs, and now it's on my platform, I'm going to run with it.
But Xbox had nothing to do with that decision. They have no
guess what?
Right. Well,
ability to control that.
The reciprocity.
I'll let them figure that out.
They put
I'll let them figure that out. I just know it's on my PS5. Right?
J Fake News City. That's what I'm gonna call you.
If we're gonna call people out, speaking of PS5, let's go back to when Kirk referred to his PlayStation as sexy. Anyone else
stand by that?
It is.
I mean, it's sleek and all that
stuff. It's better than a cinder block, right?
I mean,
baby.
You gotta admit, it's better than a cinder block.
I think it's God of War. Let me turn that button on. Yeah, so that aesthetic
I want to see what's beyond your horizon.
Yeah, there you go. The aesthetic
there's not a single curve on the thing. Like, come on, at least PlayStation is it's something.
Y'all need to buy. You guys need to buy body pillows. This is getting weird. Like,
girl, you want to see the rise of my Ronin?
That's enough. That's enough.
Okay. So aesthetically, I agree. The PlayStation has something to it. Functionally, though, the form factor of the Xbox is better because I'm always worried my PlayStation's gonna break. Like, it just doesn't seem as convenient sometimes when I move it to my computer or my.
It looks like a Wi-Fi router. It's ugly. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
got it.
Lono.
J-Dub, I wish I could play my video games on a Chromecast.
I actually think the Series X looks nice. Like, you can put it on an entertainment stand. It kind of blends in. It's matte black. It's square form factor. Like the PlayStation. Like, what's that decor match? It like you said, it looks like a Wi-Fi router from like the early 2000s. It's ugly.
Going back to cloud though, like Amazon Luna, they can't get it to work or be appealing. Google Stadia couldn't get it to work or be appealing. Like, just because Xbox has money, Xbox has money and they suck at doing everything else as good as PlayStation can, they're somehow gonna make this work.
So
like that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Xbox xCloud is one of the weakest offerings right now, in my opinion, because it is only Game Pass games that are being offered. Yeah. PlayStation as a cloud now has the ability that it's your games. Now, it's not all of them because there is technical work that's going on behind the scenes to make this happen.
Yeah.
But the counter argument to that is GeForce Now, lagless, lossless, 120 frames a second, 4K, ultra wide. That's how I game. That's how I game and stream. And this in and of itself is incredible.
You got a PC.
And then
Xbox better go buy them then.
I don't think they can, but who knows?
Then they're screwed.
No, it's not that. It's that Xbox allows GeForce Now to run on your Xbox. PlayStation gets all of Xbox games if they enable that feature too. If PlayStation 5 just says, "Hey, there's a GeForce Now app on your little dashboard here," and then you just fire it up, you're now playing Halo Infinite, which announced today. You're now playing Diablo 4. Well, you already have that on your platform. Whatever, Horizon, like all of that is there, and there's no extra porting or necessary needed. But the pitch is that you're also having a high-end gaming PC experience without all the gaming PC challenges that a lot of console gamers don't want. They don't want to manage their drivers. They don't want to have to worry about if a game is playable or not. They don't want to have to worry about all these massive updates and hard drive space. Well, consoles have that problem right now, and that's going to be something interesting to see how they solve that in the next generation. But there's a big value there, and I can tell you, like, when I look at the next generation that's coming down the pipe, most of them are all actually gaming in the cloud. My kids spend 95% of their time on xCloud because it plays all of these different games, and that's the value add to me as a parent. Is it going to be mass market? I don't know. I don't think it's going to replace the console or the need for hardware. I think it's just going to become something that people have the option to use when they want to use it. But the real thing I think is going to be the case is the always online cloud compute, because when I look at the cost of hardware and the cost of these development things, I go, how do you have that price point where we know we've seen this when PlayStation launched at 600? Yes, 600 then is a lot less than it is today. But if they still come out of like, that's why you see consoles have this like price point, because at some point, if you push too high, you have people just like my nephew that, well, that's exactly what my nephew said. He was like, all right, I've saved up $500. And it's like, oh, but if I save up $300 more,
but you know what keeps you going from but you know what keeps people going from PC? And this is, I guess, almost a knock on Xbox, is that at this point, Xbox doesn't have any exclusives. So people can go any and everywhere, right? But if you want to play the new God of War, or if you want to play the new Spider-Man or the Wolverine or any of those games that they
want to play Stellar Blade,
you're going to have to
PlayStation.
Yeah, you got to buy a PlayStation.
The end. End of story.
You
want to play Stellar Blade in April? Go buy a PlayStation. Like what do you going and buying a PC and an Xbox?
You got a PC,
Rise of the Ronin,
PlayStation.
PlayStation. Like what do you want those other things for?
You can go.
Microsoft has 0 exclusives, and they've had 0 exclusives for a very long time. That's why.
But like, that led them to the problem that they're having right now, right?
Well, is it like, I get that
Final Fantasy?
If the goal is to sell consoles, it's a problem.
Right now,
but I agree with Lono. I don't think they give a crap if they're going to sell a console or not. They like
they may not. They may not care. They may not care. But as a gamer and a console guy who spent $500 or $200 or $300, however much to buy into the Xbox ecosystem, and their promises that this will be the best place to play, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about
literally the third best place to play.
When you see like
exactly,
I would just say Granblue Fantasy Relink is a really good option, right? Like it doesn't come out and announce that it's like exclusive, but it's like PlayStation and PC. Great game. I'm so glad that it's doing as well as it did. But why isn't it on Xbox? And so PlayStation, time and time again, this generation and into last generation, there's a lot of games that come out that they aren't announcing like it's exclusive to PlayStation. It just doesn't come to the Xbox at all. And so you take that and you extrapolate over the time.
And Microsoft came out today, and they're going to double down on that and give PlayStation their games.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the thing to consider, too, and I talked about this the other day when everybody got really upset at these rumors and they canceled Game Pass, turned their Xboxes in. I said, well, you don't really have any buying power, and you also aren't building a digital library. And this is something that I think Xbox has to consider about their future when Phil Spencer says we lost the worst generation to lose because everybody was building their digital libraries. The real kicker right now is nobody's building a digital library on Xbox if they're on Game Pass. And that's what Game Pass does, is it creates this, you're not building a library. It's really easy to leave because all you're leaving behind is a subservice. And if they continue to put their first party titles day and date on Game Pass like they said they are, I just think they're making their platform very easy to walk away from because you do not have this library. You're not building a library right now. And then what purpose does an exclusive serve? Like what? What's the point of the exclusive if it's literally just so somebody can rent it on Game Pass? Like you're not building a library which creates loyalty. So that's why I think it's inevitable that these first 4 games go. They look at the ROI, and then they start moving other titles because it's like the old playbook of using exclusives to drive people to your box and to get people to stay. Game Pass has absolutely poured acid on that strategy because you are not building a library, which means it's really easy to say, I'll go somewhere else. And once they go somewhere else and start building up that digital library, whether it's PC with Steam or PlayStation, you've lost that customer. They're not coming back.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true though, because if PlayStation did it, people would stay in the ecosystem because it's like literally we get Rise of the Ronin in March and then we get Stellar Blade in April. Like there's a cadence, and we get Final Fantasy VII this month. So Final Fantasy VII in February, Rise of the Ronin in March, Stellar Blade in April. Like Xbox has never even, Xbox has never even remotely approached that cadence ever. Like, so yeah, of course, if
Those
there's
are all third
Lono,
parties,
to
because,
your
like,
point,
the-
if there's
yeah.
3 games that I play on Game Pass that are exclusives because they're part of the Xbox Game Studios, ecosystem or whatever, yeah, I play those 3 games and then I walk away. But if you just keep hitting me with value and value and value and good games, premium experiences, quality, 8s and 9s and 8s and 9s, like, Phil is wrong. Like, if they made 9s and 10s, people would be involved with Xbox.
No,
but
they
they
wouldn't.
don't make 9s and 10s. They make 7s and 8s. Nobody gonna move or do anything for a 7 and 8. And yeah, they go play the 7 or the 8, and then they cancel their Game Pass because they can go back to their PlayStation and play good games, better. They can play Spider-Man on PlayStation. They can play God of War Ragnarok Valhalla for free if you already have the game. They can play Death Stranding 2, best looking game you've ever seen in your life on a console. Like that. Like, of course they're gonna stay. Like, Xbox is a detour. Like, Xbox is like, you know what, honey? Let's not go out for that restaurant that we really like and we always go to on date night. Let's go for Chinese or for Italian or whatever. Let's go to some other place that we're going to go to. I'm not knocking Italian food. I love me some Italian food now. But, like, let's go somewhere else. Let's take a detour. Let's go to that Asian fusion place or like whatever. And then they go there and you eat it and then you're like, that was good. And then you don't go back there for like 3 months. Like, that's what Xbox is. It's just a sideshow.
And that's
It's
what
a
Nintendo
detour.
Is too. Like, you just check in with Nintendo every
What?
6 months.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You're playing all your third party. You're playing Stellar Blade on.
I don't need to. What?
I'm
what
playing
do you mean?
that Princess Peach
Princess Peach
Showtime.
Showdown, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Princess Peach Showdown.
It is. So again, that's an interesting point, Lono, about Game Pass, the ease of leaving. But I still think that, again, even with that factor, whatever that breakdown is, if you buy Diablo 4 on your PlayStation, Microsoft's making money, right? If you buy Call of Duty on your PlayStation or your PC. So again, their business is what they care about. And whether Game Pass is 30% of that revenue and cloud streaming is 10%, cloud streaming could survive being 5% or less, probably because they have so much ways to subsidize it, since that architecture is already being used for so many other aspects of their core offerings and services and subscriptions. I just don't think they see themselves as a PlayStation does, and no one's kind of sees themselves as Nintendo. Nintendo does their own thing with technology. Nintendo themselves has said, we don't see ourselves as a tech company. We see ourselves as a toy company. And that's why they'll take what they call Gunpei Yokoi coined this when they made the Game Boy, but they say lateral thinking with technology, weathered technology, meaning technology that's been around, it's been proven, and it's affordable, but let's use it in a new, innovative way. That's why Nintendo continues to have a lot of success consistently. Let's not talk about the Wii U, but I think it's still sold more than the Asus ROG Ally. But it does that because it sells it at an affordable price point. It sells something that everyone could experience. The Switch didn't need to have 4K. Less than like 40% of people had a 4K at that point in time. And I think just over 50% have it now. Like, Nintendo does its own thing, and they don't really have to worry, I think, too much about anyone else. And I think Xbox is trying to pivot themselves as their own thing too. And that very well may be 30 years from now, they're not making consoles. I don't know. But they're not going away as a gaming business at this point.
So are they just in here like is Xbox or is Microsoft in gaming? Are they just here just to exist?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
And
making
just-
lots of
just
money
to
from
exist?
gaming.
Well, Phil Spencer
Yeah.
sees their relevancy as a company tied to gaming. And I kind of think he's right. Like, I think as gaming continues to grow, it become more endemic to daily life. Like, it's just a part of what we do. It's on cell phones. I think, again, they want to see that the TV inroad and, you know, the PC potential growth for that market. We see other companies, PlayStation's like, hey, we're going to look more into PC. Now, people are twisting it and saying, oh, they're going to go day and date. Maybe by the time Spider-Man 3 comes out, they'll do day and date, because at that point in time, they've established that digital library loyalty with all the PS5 owners, and there's no risk in somebody being like, well, I'm going to switch to PC for Spider-Man 3. I don't think that would happen. And they're seeing that revenue and saying, we need to go over there because that's a big market. That's a big place to go make money. So I think Microsoft sees that relevancy in gaming being intertwined with cloud and with that we're going to be everywhere. Satya said, like, we are everywhere. That's the goal of Microsoft. Gaming is an arm of that. And that's how they maintain their relevancy in the market. That's why it was kind of easy to believe they were going to change it to Microsoft Gaming. I don't think they will, but I'm like, that's so Microsoft to be like, you're not Xbox anymore, you're Microsoft Gaming. Like the ego of their corporate thinking. And I think that's how they look at gaming. That's why they've not been good at creative, because they're good at software. Software is not creative, it's utilitarian. And I think that's why a lot of their policies with contracts and the fact that a lot of their great games, they bought them, right? They don't foster creative with look at what they allowed happen to 343 and Halo. Yeah. I said yesterday, they should have treated Halo like a Fabergé egg. They should have held it with reverence and protected it and funneled money and studios at it. And instead, they let the multiplayer launch in a beta. And it's like, what? That's not how you treat your big property.
A beta for a year.
Right. Imagine if Nintendo did that with one of their big properties. Or imagine if God of War Horizon came out and was just a buggy disaster mess and we learned that half the studio was on contract and leaving. We'd be angry. We'd be like, why would you treat your big valuable property that way? That's why I was so mad about The Last of Us.
Factions was going to be. That's why they cut it.
The Last of Us port.
Damage control. It's brand protection.
The Last of Us port to PC. I took him to task for that. I'm like, this is not how you treat your property, PlayStation. This is embarrassing. Where's the ownership? They were trying to capitalize on the popularity of the TV show. That was a giant mistake, and I can't see PlayStation making that mistake again. That's why they canceled Factions. But Xbox is just happy to launch Forza Motorsport before it's ready, and the user scores are abysmal because of it. And it's just like, that's my concern. It's like, they own a lot of property, and they don't handle it very well. And if they want to start doing this, like taking property over to PlayStation, they better wait a year, because they're going to have to get the games in better state if they want to do it.
Yeah. I could easily see Xbox ruining all this IP. Like, let me, I don't want that. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. But to your point, Lono, that is a good point. Like, culture wise, they've not yet figured out how to maintain that creative ideal that you need in software development, separate from game development. And Sony does that great. Sony has that culture. Nintendo has that culture. Nintendo passes on a culture. They got tons of tradition there too. Microsoft needs to figure that out. But the weird thing is they're such a behemoth, even if they don't. If Call of Duty puts out the same Call of Duty for the next 20 years, that's probably going to make money, right? And it is one of those things where people like it's a double-edged sword, their position. They don't necessarily have to prioritize quality or innovation as much as they have to just let's use our existing infrastructure and get our stuff everywhere. That is cloud and all that stuff, which is innovative, but nothing what you're probably going to see from a Nintendo or Sony from games or hardware moving forward specifically.
It's not foolproof, because, you know, whether you like Bobby Kotick or not, right, with what was going on over there, they were cranking these games out, and these games were good games, you know, and they kept the revenue coming in, and they switched it up. And now we've had pretty much the heads of all of those studios have left with all of a lot of those developers and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Call of Duty maintains over the next iteration or two.
But
they're
all leaving with big old fat paychecks, because they had well, not just parachutes, but also like like stock options, and all of a sudden you just got a big old check, especially if you've been taking a part of that, and then you as a developer who says, now I got the money that I want to go make the game that I've always wanted to make but couldn't. Like that's where I think we
Immortals
see
of Avium.
Skull and Bones.
Well,
I don't know why, if anybody was thinking that those games are going to be good, because it's just like, okay, I'm going to be over here playing fun games.
Well, I'll be honest. Sometimes I ask myself that about developers too. It's like, are you paying attention to the market, to what gamers are actually wanting to play and stuff like that? Or are you just making a game that you think that they won't want to play?
It depends on publishers. Go ahead, Lono.
We forget how long it takes to make games.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, I think people look at Kill the Justice League and they forget, like, that game was in development for a really long time, and if it would have dropped at, like, 2019 at the height of Fortnite, people would have been like, this is awesome. Well, I also think if it would have been built by Gearbox, people would be worshiping it instead of shredding it, because they're like, this isn't what we wanted from Rocksteady. Like, if that was a Gearbox game, it would be reviewed completely differently, but that's a whole side tangent.
Gearbox would have made that game better, too, because they're really good at looter shooters.
Well, people would have expected the loot table to grind and the simplicity of it. They wouldn't have expected, like, the Rocksteady
Yeah.
impact system and combat system.
Same
that
thing with
they were used
Bioware
to.
and Anthem. I get where you're going
The
with it.
point being that the trends change so fast. I said it last night. Everybody's trying to jump on extraction PvPvE. Everybody's adding that to their game, and I'm like, that's the next trend. And guess what? You're going to oversaturate the market. There'll be 2 or 3 gold star games that rise, and everybody else will die. And that's the problem with trend chasing. Like when you look and you're like, well, this is what the market's doing. Let's do that. I think that's what The Last of Us Online did. I think they said, we can do that. Our mode is so good and successful. We can go out in the market and do what Fortnite's doing. And as time went on, it was like Bungie took one look at it and said, you don't know what it takes to maintain an ongoing live service game.
Yeah.
And that's why the Helldivers devs are right now scrambling to hire more people, because they went way past expectations. Sony buys them before the summer. Write it down. I guarantee they're going to scoop them up and give them the funding they need, because that game can go places. I think it's got massive potential.
agreed.
And there's no PvP.
And they don't want to add PvP. Like,
I think
thank goodness.
people are already exhausted with PvP, with PvE elements, extraction shooters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people want a lot more games that are like
I'm
that.
gonna push back on that. There's no PvP. This is one of my like pet peeves within gaming. PvP doesn't necessarily mean me shooting at you. It's some form of competition, and they give you stats at the end of it, like Smash Brothers, right? So it's like who got the most kills.
That's not
bragging
PvP.
rights. Yeah,
That's called
and you
co-opetition.
You could still compete against each other.
That's what the devs call it. The Suicide Squad has the same thing. PvP means competitive player versus player multiplayer.
But I'm saying that you don't need that when you also have any kind of competitive element brought in. And so I always kind of say, yeah, I would define that still in a way of PvP. Who could perform the best? Who can do this and that and more? And because the game tracks your stats, for me as somebody who's a baseball nerd, I'm all about it. It doesn't have to be like, a real fist grinder. It usually is more like funny and fun. Like, oh man, did you see I got the most team kills? Not sorry. It's like
it's an interesting point to talk about the innovation in gaming and where it's going to come from. And I think that's why Arrowhead has 100 employees. A company that size, that's where you're going to see an innovative game that impresses and doesn't chase the trends. Because all these larger companies like the Activisions, a Warner Brother owned developer, there's so many internal incentives to push after these trends. They have giant staffs, they have giant teams, and they have to go all out on these things, and it does take a longer time. And Reggie Fils-Aimé, I think, said this a few months ago too, is that you're going to see the innovation from the teams. All these fat checks from all that stuff, they're going to leave. They're going to leave, and then they're going to probably start their own dev firms too that are smaller, and they're going to be able to work on that passion project and create something new and innovative as well. So there is a benefit to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand how the heck you call Skull and Bones a quad A game. This seems like what is, I don't, at first I was like, oh, they're doing something really unique. Let me see what it is.
We have a podcast Monday. Stop.
Well, that's why you should never get drunk and do an interview, because that's the only way I can believe that he said that. Like, why would you say that sentence? That's just a joke, like a quad A game.
Ubisoft is a joke. Did you watch their Summer Games Fest?
You better calm down.
I love them. I'm part of the program.
They're coming back.
I'm part of the program. I love Ubisoft. I am a memeable Ubisoft fan. I'm not a pony or an Xbox
in general, but
exactly. Well, this whole podcast proves that, right, Lono?
I think Ubi's having a comeback, man. Prince of Persia, that Star Wars Outlaws.
Yes,
AC
I'm just
Red.
saying
come on,
their
come on.
messaging.
Oh yeah, don't let him do interviews. That was the stupid.
It's rough, dude.
Why did they
like
let him...
in the best way? Like I loved that conference. That conference reeked of like Mr. Caffeine era E3 of them just being like, you want to drive in the Lamborghini, like with Motorfest, and then just like the way they showed off Star Wars, and dude, I love Ubisoft, and it's for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, they're coming back.
I want to give everybody an opportunity if there's anything that they want to kind of talk about, because we are over kind of, we usually shoot for these to be an hour, and we're a little bit over that. So I do apologize to everybody here on the panel in case they have to get out of here. But as just kind of a final way to put a hat on today, I'd like everybody to have the opportunity to say anything that's come to mind, or maybe something they want to add on to. So let's start with Kirk. I hadn't called you guys first at all in this entire show, and I was like,
yeah, I know. But I've been interjecting and obnoxious, so I don't really know that I need anything to say anything else. I mean, I've made it clear where I stand. I don't think that Mark talked about it earlier. Like Nintendo takes proven industry areas, innovates, thinks laterally, expands on what they know will already work, what already has a proof of concept, and then they do like a little twist on it or something that makes it unique, makes it enticing and appealing to the market. And like that's where they find their success. And then PlayStation, they have a strategy, they have a methodology, they have a product and a brand that they continue to deliver upon year after year. That's the stalwart of gaming right now is the PlayStation brand and the PlayStation console and the games that are on that platform. So those two are occupying those two different spaces, and they're both crushing it in both those two spaces. And Xbox is scrambling to try and figure out where they can find ground. What's the space that they can occupy? And they haven't found it yet. They haven't found it since the launch of the Xbox One. And so they're continuing to say, oh, it's going to be this. We're going to buy the biggest most successful maker of games on mobile, King. We're going to buy them, and we're going to improve our cloud, and we're going to put our platform on television. So I mean, like, great. Okay, maybe one of those works. Maybe they get lucky. I'm not going to sit here and say they're destined to fail and there's no way that they couldn't blow up. Like that's tech, right? Like that's Silicon Valley. Eventually somebody makes the app. Eventually somebody has the idea that blows up. And, TikTok, for example, we had Vine as a precursor to that. TikTok is now, Instagram and YouTube are scrambling to try and keep up with TikTok and innovate to copy TikTok. TikTok was a new idea and a new app and a new platform. So like if Xbox gets lightning in a bottle with one of these ideas, great. But they have a track record of trying stuff and it not working. And I'm not going to bet on or place any stock in anything that they're going to try in the next 5 or more years until I see actual results, because there have been no actual results.
It's good that they try, though, like, because that's one of the things that when it comes down to it, like,
You
Nintendo, yeah, you tried. At least you tried. As opposed to like when I hear a lot of gamers complain about the state of game, like, oh, it's just like the big companies, the AAAs are just doing this like the safest possible route. It's like Nintendo's out there like, we're just going to turn motion controls on and see what happens. And then everybody tries to copy it. And then it's like, okay. But J-Dub, what do you think?
I will say this. There's a large number of people out there that Microsoft caters to. And a lot of those people, they will take away different things from this podcast that they had today. There's a lot of people out there that want to be lied to. They want to be led astray. They want to be validated to make. They want to be validated with their years of waiting for greatness and waiting for good things. They want to be comforted in that. Now today, I think Phil, with all the spinning that they did, there's some people going to say, yeah, this is what we wanted, and thank you, Phil, and they're going to take away totally different set of circumstances that we talked about today. And guess what? To those people, kudos to them. Let them, God bless their souls, let them do that. But to everybody else, we've been lied to enough. Like they say, the first time, shame on you, the next time shame on me, and then on and on and on. And I think we've seen this rabbit hole go down so many times. We're able to, we don't have the filters on. We get to see the BS. We get to actually read the fine line and see exactly what was said. And we talked about that today. Anyway, you guys can catch me on Twitter at JDubCity16, man. I'll try to keep you guys laughing, what I'm saying, with some of my banter that I have.
JDub Fake News City.
Big facts.
Lono.
I just come at this with the ongoing trajectory as a guy that entered this gen excited as an Xbox fan. I bought the Series X first. And if I watch that show back and think about it back as an Xbox fan, they gave me zero confidence in the brand going forward, delivering anything I was hoping for. They've admitted that, we're going to put 4 titles somewhere else with the possibility of more. And then they just basically just puked out a bunch of the same talking points that they've said for years, and then dangled there's going to be this big, huge technical leap in the next gen hardware, which just continues the meme of wait until things get better. As a Series X owner, as somebody that thought that, they're really going to come out here and speak with clarity, I think it lacked clarity. I think, like Jay said, I think a lot of the big-time, fully committed Xbox guys, this is just enough to put them back in the saddle and to say, yep, we're on Team Xbox. You guys aren't getting Starfield, like they said, just enough. And that's why I always say it's not what Phil says, it's what he doesn't say. If you really listen carefully. And then he goes and does these interviews with, Verge and everywhere else, and it's just like, it's very, very clear Microsoft is the captain now. And Phil and Sarah and Booty, they seem like great people. They're real sharp, and I think Phil kept him in the fight. I got respect for that guy for keeping Xbox in the fight all these years, but I think Microsoft walked in the room and said, we're the captain now, and this is phase 1, and I believe there will be a phase 2, and I believe a lot of the big titles will move. I definitely think Blade is already probably slated to be multi-plat. I don't think that there's
they refused to even acknowledge.
Yeah, they won't address it. It's like they won't address the conversation on so many of those titles, and it's my biggest hope is that they do decide to do something with handheld, because I do think that's a compelling offer from Microsoft that would make me be like, oh, I want to get Xbox hardware again. Because right now, after what happened with Series X, and again, she said technical leap, and I'm like, I don't know what that could mean. I hope it's a powerhouse. I hope they leave behind the two-tiered system with the S. I just thought that's just been so not helpful. And I think devs are going to continue to look at that. A point I wanted to make when I was talking about nobody's building a digital library on Xbox, third-party developers are going to think about that. You have a culture that doesn't build a library, they use a service, and it's like, do you really want to build games for over there? I think third-party devs are going to look at this messaging and look at this pattern and say, what are we investing in over there if we build a game for over there? What's the point? It doesn't seem like this concrete value offer of power and next gen. It's this weird nebulous thing. I think the PS5 Pro is going to be very winsome to devs, and it's going to really turn the tide in the third-party war, and that's where you're going to see, like you said, games like Grand Blue and stuff, just inadvertent exclusives will continue, I think, going forward.
That's why this guy's a professional. Every bit of that. Yeah, that's why this guy gets paid the big bucks.
There you go.
Yeah, I second all of that for sure.
Yeah, well, for me to be clear, I am not team Xbox or PlayStation. I sold my Xbox because I just wasn't using it, but I did like it. I was impressed by the backwards compatibility. I'm team Princess Peach for sure. But no, I mean,
Super Mario Wonder, Super Mario RPG. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a cadence on Nintendo. Absolutely.
Yeah. So to Lono's point about Microsoft being captain, I feel like that was always the case, right? And Phil Spencer did put up a good fight. He did put up a good fight to try to make gaming more than what it was at Microsoft. I just don't see in the long run that truly changing anything. Handheld would be really cool, but I think there's two ways they could go about it. They could go about it the way they are, where they're just letting other OEMs make devices. And REG, I tested that Ally. It was cool, but Windows sucks on a handheld device right now. So if they don't improve that with some type of better mobile Windows experience, that's going to fail. Maybe they enter it themselves with some other device. That could happen. I'd be surprised, but I would definitely try it out for sure. So, I mean, long run is, I don't think Xbox consoles are going to blow out anyone in the future, but I would still probably buy Microsoft stock too, knowing that a lot of that is going to come from other aspects, but their business is going to be around for a long time. And to the comment about Blade, I mean, honestly, I'd say I hope Blade is multi-platform for the sake of that game, because one, I love Blade. I hope it's a good game, and I'm a game developer myself. I want game developers to succeed. And the reality is locking yourself into a platform not a lot of people are playing is poor as well. So, I mean, those are my 2 cents. Nothing surprised me out of this at all, and I do think it was a complete waste of time. Not this podcast, but that interview.
I echo that. I felt like that it was a 22-minute nothing burger, that I was the worst case scenario for them. Again, 4 vague games that now we can speculate on what they might be. And then of course, people are going to say, well, if they brought these 4, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What I was wanting from this, because I believe in their vision about games everywhere. I think they're thinking of it in the future in the right way with the right tech, and just basically saying like, hey, every screen is an Xbox. Okay, cool. Why not? Like, that's the same thing. Like, if PlayStation Portal said, hey, we're going to let you have your GeForce Now on this, it becomes an instant buy device for me. But I'm not in the market for single use, products anymore, because I don't have that, that need. I already have something that does those things. I think the PlayStation Portal would be a better device to do the things that I wanted to do, but it still is limited. But all that being said, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Xbox from here on out, because I don't think Xbox fans got anything that they really wanted. And if they did, I would really lean into the copium kind of aspect. From a technological perspective, I think, yes, they weren't going to leave the console market, but what is a console for them in this next technical leap? I think we got a lot of PR and a big nothing burger. And I honestly, I felt like I wasted my time. And at the same time, then going back to Colt Eastwood's, like shocking face and all that, like all these little things of hopium that have been, on the internet. I was like, that was like, I said, what's the worst case scenario? And then while watching it, I go, oh, this is that worst case scenario that I thought that they would do. They'd get up here, they wouldn't really be clear. They have confusing messaging and they look defeated. And I think that's just going to accelerate this into whatever Summer Games Fest tends to be. And I think that's going to be the next kind of check-in point, truly. Like, yes, maybe the Nintendo Directs next week and they get, Hi-Fi Rush or whatever, which would be great. Bring it. Like, that's what I want. However, I think essentially today was a big waste of time. Not this
They didn't
podcast,
solidify
though.
any confidence in the brand. They didn't shoot back across the bow. Like Phil's statement about, no, it's not Indiana Jones or Starfield. Like, that was it. Out of that entire 22-minute podcast, like, there was nothing else that was noteworthy or really worth talking about. I commend all four of you gentlemen for us being able to actually make some content out of that, because there was just absolutely nothing there. So, I think that you're right, Brian. This is the worst case scenario. Like, even if they just said something bold and crazy and they said, yep, a third party, everything, like that would have been almost better if you had something to say, like you were bringing something to table with a bold new vision. Instead, they were just like, we have nothing to say, nothing to offer. We're not restoring any confidence. We're not restoring, what our brand messaging and vision is beyond lip service and vagaries and PR speak. See you guys whenever we talk next. And nothing about the community losing their minds has been resolved by this 20-minute or so conversation about random vague stuff. And you guys are gonna get Diablo, so forget about all this, please. Go play Diablo.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
I will agree with Brute that I am on Team Lasagna as opposed to Team Xbox or Team PlayStation. I think Lasagna is always a good choice, and I like that they put that in chat. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to the panel for coming in together and giving me some of their time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks to chat spending their time with us today. We're going to wrap up, and I'm going to dismiss these guys. And we thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening, hitting that like button, and hopefully you'll leave a comment or two on the VOD. But outside of that, see you next time.
Epic Loop Radio. Epic Loop Radio.
Okay, I'm gonna. Oops. Hang on one second. I am not getting any music. There we go. Yo, thank you, Jen. That's 198. 198. 199 from DK Bager. Thank you guys so much. Let's get it up on the board and celebrate it. You guys have just absolutely gone crazy today. There it is, 200 members. I owe you guys 5. I'll give you guys a total member count here in just a second. I don't understand why I can't type. There we go. I must have bumped numlock. Let me give the 5 that I owe you, and then I will check the I will check the thing. Yeah, I just keep coming back to, like, everyone's gonna celebrate and try to be like, hold the L, you hold the L, pony, you're not getting Starfield. And it's like, you can keep saying that. You guys all made fun of me for my timed exclusive video when I made it. Y'all attacked me when I said what I said in January. You are literally playing a dangerous game, because it's very clear they are open to it. It's very clear. You want to hold on to the fact that they're like, well, no, it's not coming. They confirm it's not coming. It's like, listen, everybody said that it was. I think it's very clear now why everybody said that it was coming. Right? I think it's very clear now. No Starfield's what they took away from all that? Oh, I guarantee you that's what they're going to take away. They're going to be like, hold the L, pony. Starfield's not coming. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. That's going to be the big confetti celebration. Confetti celebration. Hardware's coming. We got a next-gen console coming. Day and date staying. We're getting Diablo. And Starfield's not going to PlayStation. There's your talking points if you want to run an Xbox podcast and act like that was a great show from them. Like, that's what you're going to hear. I'm telling you right now, I just gave you the outline of all those shows and all those videos. Write it down. That's what they're all going to talk about. That's what they're all going to say. It was the most empty, the most non-helpful. Like, I was so glad because, like, Ginger usually seems pretty pro Xbox. I was so glad when he opened up the show and he was like, that was just like a crap show. He's like, that was nothing. What was that? I was like, thank you. I was like, it was not good. It wasn't good. I can't imagine being a hardcore Xbox fan and walking away from that being like, I'm more confident in the brands now. It was shaky. It was weird. It felt very non-specific. It felt very like nebulous. It was like, I don't even know what you guys are saying. Like, go watch the part where Sarah Bond says that when you play on Xbox, you know that you're going to be playing world-class games. You can hear it. It's like, it's just awkward. It's like, what are you selling? Like Kirk says, what's the value proposition? What are you selling me on? What is it? I don't know what it is. Like, if the door is wide open and all titles could eventually go somewhere else, it's just like, I don't understand what you're selling me. It was all this non-specific, and again, they just come back to the same stuff of like cross-play, day and date, and cross-save, play anywhere. All right, you've been saying it for a couple of years. That just sounds like I don't need an Xbox. I mean, what? Yo, thank you for a month, Bold Alpha Pack. What did you get from Matt Booty? I was actually very surprised they spoke to Game Pass. That went against my predictions. I didn't think they were going to say anything about Game Pass. Well, I said, I guess I qualified it. I said, if they're going to do less day and date, they won't say anything. Well, that's not what they said. They said the opposite. They're like, day and date's not going anywhere. So, I thought they were going to make modifications to day and date in the future, but they kind of don't have to if really big titles land on other platforms. Like, if Blade is a multi-plat day and date, then who cares? They'll make tons of money off PlayStation. You know? Sarah was mixing up her words repeatedly. I could feel the tense and tired energy in the room. Yeah, like, Sarah and Phil did not feel like Sarah and Phil typically feel like. They usually feel very sharp, very confident, very on message. And it just, yeah, it didn't have the normal vibe and the normal feel. I don't know. The catch about technological leap was a good one. That means that statement is also completely vague. Yeah, she said technological leap. She didn't say performance leap. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I love Kirk. He's just gonna have to learn, like, not to yell. It kind of hurts the mic. So, you know, he needs to get a mic and get like a compressor setting. Because if you want to yell and raise your voice, I think you can, and it can be funny. I just think his mic, it gets really peaky, and it's just you need a really good setup if you want to yell. That's just like a content creator faux pas thing that people learn with time. I used to yell and I didn't have a compressor on and it would be bad. I used to do the same thing. So, 2 Spot from Trill, congrats on almost 8K live viewer peak. Yeah, we peaked at 7,600 viewers today. Insane. I can't even tell you how many new subs we got. So, I appreciate you guys so much in the support today. 201 members. You get your Helldivers stream tomorrow night with Madam. That's going to be an absolute blast. I think tomorrow morning, I'm going to do like, I don't know, I'm going to chop it up with Creature on the phone and figure out POV for tomorrow, because I'll probably do a stream about, like, was I wrong? Because I'm really going to push the fact that, like, y'all can come at me as hard as you want. I'm telling you right now, you know what's coming. They made it very clear. They made it very clear what's coming. So, and then I'll probably break it down with Mike, and then we have tomorrow night. So it should be a great day tomorrow. So thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Remember that Friday mornings start a little bit later. I'm going to have to probably write my monologue tomorrow morning. And I appreciate all the support for the channel. So you guys are the absolute best. Make sure and support those other guys. Make sure and support Ginger. Make sure and support their videos and stuff. And I appreciate them having me on. So I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for everything. What a huge day. More to talk about in the coming days.